Into the Storm podcast.
By the power of a human spirit, no matter what you're facing, we had just one way into the storm, into the storm, into the storm, into the storm.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Into the Storm podcast. My name is Ken. I'm the founder of the podcast, also of the Bison Tribe, and we are joined today by the man behind the camera, Mr. William Renken. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks
Awesome,
for having me.
So happy to have you on, man. You've been filming me. You film me more than anybody, I think, in my life.
Oh yeah, I get it. I love anytime there's a retreat, I find out Ken's on the member or on the attendee list. I'm like, it's gonna be a good time.
Especially for the football game.
The football is what I love. Like the football is the best because here's the thing: most of the people there, like they may have played something, but they may not have played like football. Like they can,
Right.
They've done some type of sports.
Right.
Like when you get out there, man. First of all, like just watching you throw, you have such a cool release. And granted, like
Dan Marino.
it's awesome. It's
I grew up watching Dan.
that quick release. But then what's better is when you get a group of guys that you try to, like, because you've coached like 1,000 teams in a billion different sports. Like
Right.
sports haven't even been invented. I think you've coached them in.
Right.
But what's so funny is when you try to coach these guys in the moment, like, and you call out some of these formations and these guys just look at you because I'm filming it, their reaction. They're like, whatever, bro, I'm just going to go out and you throw me the ball, basically. And it's hilarious, especially too, when like you Brett Favre, some of these guys, you throw it like,
I try not to. I like read the room, bro. Like
I
you
know.
can't catch that.
No, but it's fun. What's really fun is when it's whenever you're matched up against Hunter.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the one where you're going to get him. And I think like one time, I guess technically you did because he switched teams because you
Yeah.
guys were killing him. You guys were on
Right.
the same team and you guys
Right.
were,
Right.
but when he switched,
And I don't understand. Like it's the worst luck. Like Ammon got 2 interceptions on me. I don't throw
remember that?
interceptions.
Yeah.
And like one was, I forget the guy. He was a tall dude, and I hit him. It would have hit him in the face if he didn't catch it. And it like Rick somehow it's like a volleyball set. He just like boop, here you go, and he just like pops it up, and Ammon catches it.
Yeah.
And the other one, a guy rushed me kind of quick. I didn't get my feet set. I kind of threw like I was squared up down the field. And I just kind of like do this, and I was threw it by like 8 yards, and Ammon's back there, and he's giggling. You can hear him cackling, running back the whole time.
Should we add some context so people understand what we're talking about better? Like, so
Oh yes.
So-
I'm sorry, we didn't even get there.
no, it's okay. So it's for Revolt, which is not just a mastermind, it's like a leadership development group for contractors, a lot of roofing owners, but contractors, business owners across the board. We go to usually like place like in Tennessee, like a big old cabin or whatever. But then like on the third day, we get up and we go to a football field. If it's in Gatlinburg, it's a Gatlinburg like high school, like it's a nice field, it's a turf field. I mean, like, I don't know if it's necessarily nice. That thing hurts. Like
Yeah.
it's not fun to run and fall down on, but you have these 2 teams of like 7 to 10, whatever,
Mhm.
business owners match up with each other. And it's just 2-hand touch above the waist. I don't know. The rules kind of evolve below the waist, above the
Right.
waist, whatever. And it's just funny because every single time, this is how these games play out. Everybody wants to go long.
Mhm.
And the problem is most of these guys like have maybe 4 or 5 routes in them before they're gassed.
Yeah. They're ready to go back to the cabin, man.
And yeah, exactly. And then by that point, it's like 10 yards stop, just
Yeah.
stop.
Right.
That's about the best you're going to get out of it. So these games are fun. They're fun to watch, like, because the defense deteriorates.
Quickly.
Yeah. And it's like the games are like, if you're just counting by ones, it's like 9-8 sometimes.
Right.
It's-
Yeah, it's fun, man. But you guys do a great job of capturing not only that, but the content throughout the 3 days of being there is you're there, and it's crazy how there's chapters to what happens. Like it's so predictable because after you've been to enough of them, you've been to all of them,
Mhm.
I guess. But it's like guys come in first and they're all just bucked up, like, oh, look at my big truck I drove up here. Like it's like all this like macho stuff. And literally 24 hours later, they're sitting around a campfire in tears.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's like and they come here for one reason, they leave, in a whole different mindset. And it's a really powerful thing to be a part of. And the way that you capture it, because you can't explain, like you come back, you try to explain to people.
Right.
You can't explain what happens, the changes that happen in these guys and ladies. Now they have a ladies,
Right.
version, but it's just really cool to be a part of that. Of course, I only go for the football, so all the other stuff is like whatever. But
That's ridiculous. But you're right. But as a filmmaker, it's always fun because you said like there's a template to a retreat. So
Mhm.
I've been almost to every single one of them. So I know the flow of it.
Mhm.
I know what we're going to be doing. But every single time is what you said. When you watch people come in, how they enter that cabin,
Mhm.
24 hours later, where they're at when it's a wild shift.
Right.
To capture it and be able to watch it is such a joy
Mhm.
because you're seeing you're seeing the transformation. We can talk about it. We can pull up the sheets. We can make some cool graphics,
Right.
t-shirts. We can do all this stuff. But when you see it, like
Mhm.
that's when you really believe it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, it's really cool. And what's really cool is like knowing Hunter's life mission
right.
and how every one of those 20-25 guys that are impacted over that 3-day period, how they go take that back and they make those impacts, back in their families and their communities with their businesses.
And that's
And
what's
so,
real. Like it's real. Like
yeah.
it's not. It's funny. Like Revolt a lot of times like well okay. There's the joke was it's the cult, right?
Right.
It's of course, but I know masterminds are like they're kind of a hit or miss thing with people, right? Like you are investing money for the sake of networking, right? That's
Mhm.
what ultimately you're trying to do but that's what I think is more interesting about Revolt is like, yep, we've got the group, we've got the tribe, right? We've
Mhm.
got the group of people that we can talk, we can tell stories to, we can learn about experiences from, but it's also like there are tools tangible ones that you can take yourself right back into your life, like 6 bricks.
Mhm.
You go through fulfillment 50.
Mhm.
You go through your own fireside, the eulogy.
Mhm.
These are all things that like they're yours. Like you don't have to depend on other people to go do them. They
Right.
are yours. And when you do it, like when I see these people again at member retreats, or we
Mhm.
just see them just at RoofCon or whatever, like they're different.
Mhm.
They're changed.
And I think a lot of that too is finding people at the right time.
Yeah.
Like it's with anything. I remember, in several things in my life, but it's like I probably the best, not to get religious, but there was a situation that stands out to me where I was there's very few sermons. I remember every bit of it, but I remember um he was talking about the seed, and the timing of everything. So like somebody might have came and dropped seeds, but it was a hardened ground, like, and the ground wasn't ready. And then maybe they tilled up the ground, but it didn't rain. You know what I'm saying? And then like, then maybe the seed went in, but then it didn't rain for a long time. And it just like, there's just so many different things. It's got to happen in a sequence. It's got to be, it's just got to be right. And sometimes you're dropping seeds on hardened ground. You know what I mean? Sometimes, so it's like the way that process works out is you come in and it's hardened ground. Everybody kind of chills. Everything's kind of cool. The next morning, there's a good flow to it. By the midday, we're going to doing little exercises, and now you're starting to till it up, right? And then by that night of the first night, it's the second night, I guess, but the second night, like now you're starting to water it a little bit, man. And it's like that process just plays out every time. Like, but even with that, you can kind of see the ones that are kind of reserved, and it's not the right time. Like maybe that same situation a year later would have been like super impactful. You know what I mean? But
I'll tell you, you are one of my top 5 favorite people to film at a retreat, not just for the football, but because of what you're talking about. You give people permission with your presence alone to start to drop the barriers. And what I mean by that is when we do that, either whether it's the first night, maybe it's the second morning, whatever. Like Ken, you're ready to immediately like show emotion. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard you tell like many stories many times, the same story many times. I'm immediately ready. Like I'm excited to capture it every single time, because just watching you convey it, not just through words, but just the way you tell it through your face, through your eyes, through everything. It's something that connects with all those guys. Like, oh, this is not, in a good way, this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
It's not, or I should say, like, it's not like, oh God, this is good. This is actually what I really needed.
Right.
I needed somebody to be able to tell a story like some of the ones that you've told to people. Like they've needed to hear that, because then what's really great is, and I've seen it at multiple firesides, where like you've told stories about when you were younger, and that allows person over here step out of their comfort zone, person over there step out, and then before you know it, you've got all these people that are really just they're unloading these burdens that are on top of them. And that's what makes it just special. Like that's why, like, no matter how many times we do it, to be able to film that and then be able to put it together, like it's beautiful.
Yeah, man, it's so far. And the thing is, you forget. I guess I've been around you filming everybody so much that I don't even pay attention. But then, like you I guess if it was my first day and I see this guy with a camera and I'm about to get emotional, it's like, where's the guy with the camera, man? I can't let him see that. But it's like people just completely check out of that. Like they're so into that moment.
Yeah.
And I know I joke about going for the football. Yes, I bring my cleats. Yes, I bring my NFL football. Yes, I bring my terrible towel.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I do stretches and warm ups and have pregame meal. Like, yeah, I do all that stuff. But the reality is, man, it's really the fireside. Honestly, like because that's where I see the most impact on other people.
Firesides are tricky too. Like those are not a dunk. It's not a dunk session. When you get a group of people together around there and they're like, okay, this is an opportunity for you to be able to talk about things that are burdening you. This is just like, so like when you go knock on a door, like, hey, we offer free roof inspection, whatever. It's like people are automatic, like, sure, just jump on, right? There's an obstacle.
Right.
And for all those guys, there's still an obstacle. That's why, again, like when, and it's not like it's a plan or something like that. If Kenny's there, it's not like a plan that's going to like, that's supposed to, but it works when it's like, okay, I know if you start talking, like you're one of the first people to talk, it's going to make that fireside run beautifully, because it's going to open up. Because I mean, man, you've got stories, you've got things, and any one of those things, somebody out there is going to connect to it, and they're going to be like, yeah, man, I'm in that boat right now.
Yeah. And I love that. I've shared that on the podcast actually before, and it's part of that. Everything we're talking about now is why I started the Bison Tribe. You know, it's kind of like imagine the personal development and all the connectivity pieces that we have at Revolt, and then just put that on local level, kind of like what Fueled was.
Right.
But I think there were some components of Fueled that, you know, I've got the Bison Tribe, and then I've got the Lady Bison Tribe. I feel like some things we can come together on, some things they need to be separate.
Sure.
Like we have a book of the month that we do, but they're going to read a different book. We started with Can't Hurt Me. I mean, how many women really want to read David Goggins cussing for damn 5 hours on the Audible, right? So the reality is, like, it's separate but the same. You know what I'm saying? But so there's some things there, but you know, my goal long term with the Bison Tribe is to build out kind of a similar like facility and a place where we can kind of have a landing spot, and then the podcast can kind of feed into that as well. So but the Revolt, actually, just going back to what I said about Hunter planting those seeds with guys and them taking it back to their communities, even though I'm fairly, you know, I'm here local with Hunter, it's a similar thing. It's kind of where Fuel kind of dropped off. And what's crazy is there's several guys that were part of that saw the value in it, that are kind of doing their own little thing or whatever. Yeah. Mine, I think, is more being that I did connect with the firesides and I did see the transformations as much as I did there. Like, I'm way more intentional, not as much on the business side, because there is business value, you know, obviously networking and things of that nature. But really it's accountability. Like, people say they want accountability until you call them on their bullshit. It's like, right, you know, hey, you said you want to lose weight, or where are you at? Like, you know, and I know with your role, you got Fearless 44 and you've got some stuff, but like here, like when we do what we call a Bison Trek, so imagine Fearless, but it's more tailored. I'll go with you sometime. I think it's really cool, but it's more tailored towards you. And so within that, you always have a trek partner, which I think he's added that with the breaks where you have accountability partner with
Right.
each thing.
That's right.
But like each evening, I'm in the middle of a trek now. I think I'm 2.5 weeks in. So it's a 28-day thing, and you have to do it every quarter. So it's not like, oh, we just randomly do one when we want to. No, like we're all doing a trek, like, the whole bison tribe. So it's really cool. But then like you got to get on that call and they have the copy of your trek and you have a copy of theirs. So it's not like you just do these 8 steps. It's like tailored. Right?
Yeah, I got you.
And it's like, dude, how'd you do on that? Oh man, I crapped the bed on that one today, man. Like, but it's accountability. Like, and so that's what I love about it. And that's what I love about what Revolt becomes for the people that actually join is there is a piece there where Hunter's probably the one that sets the tone the most. It's like, yeah, you said you can do this, but like Dylan Mullins getting married is probably the easiest, the quickest thing. Like, when the hell you can do it? Like, what are we waiting on? When you get married? When you get married? When you proposing? Like, and it's like he's just real big on it doesn't count if you don't put a date with it. Like it doesn't even matter. You're just talking shit. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, I always love that. When I'm at a retreat and someone's like, I want to take my wife on a vacation. When? Sometime next year.
Yeah.
When next year?
Right.
When?
Right. Yeah, he gets into it. So yeah, I'm just trying to take those pieces and plug it into this, and we're having a good time getting it started. But this is what's the most fun is just talking to people.
I know,
and, like, checking it out. But let's go back to William. Where are you from, man?
I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. My dad was in the Navy, so I was born in '83. So I'm 40. My dad being in the Navy though, military, like we moved like every 2 years. So I was born '83 in Jacksonville. We moved to California in '85. My sister was born there. A few more destinations. By the time '89 rolls around, we're in Maryland. And that was awesome. Like living up there at that time period, I loved it. In '91, we have to move down to Charleston. So I consider Charleston my home because that's where I lived the longest.
Right.
I loved Charleston. Like that's why when people say, where are you from? Technically, I was born in Jacksonville. But I'm from Charleston. That's my home.
I feel the same way. Like I spent most of my years in Charleston as well. And I feel like it's where you were in late middle school and high school is kind of what you kind of.
I agree. Yes.
Because that's where the most connectivity to your adulthood happens. You know what I'm saying?
That's why like when I go down there, like it's like time traveling because like you just feel like there's a different feeling there. Like the music, like there's songs I hear, I'm like, nope, that takes me right back to that spot, '98 when I was in a freshman or whatever. Song didn't come out then. That's when I heard it then. Right. That's what's neat is when I go back there, it's home. Like no matter what. And I hear all kinds of stuff about like Charles. Oh, it's this and that's like I don't care. It is home. I love going back. I don't care how many people are there, how many apartments are there. It is home.
So. I feel the same way when I go back. And it's I tell you, being a kid, like we moved around a lot. Different reasons, but we moved around a lot as well. And I remember whenever we lived in Texas for a little while. We lived in Orangeburg. We just moved around Rock Hill, Fort Mill, but Charleston was always home. So I remember there's a stretch of the interstate down there, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Well, when it starts going clunk, 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 and like I would be a little kid, like 8 years old, bro. But and we're driving everywhere. You don't know where the hell we're at. You're a kid, like. But when I started hearing that click clunk, it's like I got excited. Plus, the trees were in the median. They went out, pulled a lot of them out now, but back then it was like the trees were in the median. And it's like when I looked up, I heard that sound. And I said, "Oh, man, we're getting home." Like, and it's just the connectivity you feel. It's a different feeling. Like even when you're in your house and you can't tell that you're in Charleston, but you're just there. It's like the humidity.
Yep.
It's like you can almost chew the air sometimes, but you just feel like, man, this is miserable because it's hot as hell, but at the same time, like this is home, man. You just feel really good. So, good deal. So, tell me about your wife. How'd y'all meet?
So, my college journey is weird. Like, so my freshman year of college was 2001.
Okay.
At University of South Carolina. I came back, like I finished my year, grades are great, everything fine. I love school. Like I genuinely loved going to school. When it's time to work, it's time to work, all that. But I came home because, my mom was not great financially. So it was time to, time to help out, to help out the house. So what ends up happening is like I have like a 5-year gap between school.
Okay.
I don't go back to school till the fall of 07. I go back to school in 23. Like it's or I guess I'd be, yeah, I was like 23, 24, something like that. I go back and like, it's a different world because like I've worked for 5 years. So like when I go to school now, like, and I know I'm paying for it,
Right.
I'm still paying for it. And that's okay. That's fine. No grievances. We'll get it done.
Yeah.
I'm just in a different world. Like it's not to say I'm more mature, but it's like, I care a lot more about this because I'm invested. I end up meeting my wife because I go back to school for theater because I love movies, but I'm also like, I need to get grounded in where it all starts, which is like theater.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school for theater, for performance. I was not somebody who just wanted to do just Shakespeare and whatever. Like I enjoyed that stuff. I also get kind of like fidgety where I'm like, I kind of want to do my own thing. So I kind of started my own kind of theater group within the group where we did our own plays.
Right. Yeah.
Visceral in language because I was like, I wanted to feel raw. I wanted to feel just, I don't know. I'm a kid who grew up with Clerks and movies like that. I just in Pulp Fiction, I wanted to hear people talk like that.
Right.
So we did plays like that. Where this leads to is we would do a showcase every fall and then in the spring. And in the fall, there's this play that was just going to hell. Like it was just going like they didn't really have and it's a short play. Like I don't see how you can't just direct a short 10-minute play. But regardless, it's not doing well. I get brought in, like, can you help like just kind of bring the ship to harbor? I'm like, no problem. My wife is in this play. We end up meeting through theater. And that's kind of where it starts off. Like she ended up working like as a PA on one of pretty much my graduating play, like my play for my last one before I finished up. So it's how we met. We just kind of went from there. Like, she started off as somebody in performance as well.
Mm-hmm.
She can dance, she can sing, she can do all the real theater stuff.
Right.
I can say lines, I can direct a play,
mm-hmm.
but she can do all the real stuff. That's like, oh, cool. I would pay money to see that because
right.
You can sing, you can dance. Like that's real theater.
Right. Yeah. Man, that's awesome. So y'all had that in common. And then fast forward from there. So this was in Charleston?
In Columbia. So we started, after I graduate, we live in Columbia. She graduates in the fall of 11. I graduate spring of 10. She graduates fall of 11. And then we, from there, we end up moving up to Greenville. I was very naive. Like I was like, okay, I'm going to go off and start filming things. I'm going to go off. That is not as easy to do in South Carolina. Right. What I should have done was just be prepared to be broke, move out west, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now where my mind was like, I wanted to pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to make sure I can pay bills. I don't want to be like just having nothing. I want to make sure I can pay stuff. And we ended up moving up to Greenville. I worked for Verizon. I worked there for 5 years in a call center. That is the bleakest existence ever.
What were you doing? Were you doing stuff on the side to like feed your,
not
passion?
Not yet. Like I had started. I've been shooting for 20 years. Like it not continuously, but like in the beginning, I shot just short films on my own. My friends just feeling it out, figuring this whole thing out. Like somewhere around 06 or whatever. By the time we're getting to like the end of college and like getting into Verizon, like the emotional toll it takes on you working there, like you don't want to do anything. Like once you're done for the day or the week, you just don't want to do anything because you're just recouping from it. So it took a while. The thing I was fortunate though was like there was a project that I got on, which was like basically like we had an equipment room where we had all the phones. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't on the phones, but when somebody was taking a call and like they were working with some one-off device, like I got to be able to do something. They go check it out from the equipment room. We were kind of subject matter experts. That was cool. Well, when that ended, the person who was doing multimedia for the call center was moving off their project. And just to be able to not go back to the phones, I was like, I know how to shoot. This will be cool. And that started it all. Like from that point, I was able to start shooting again. And I remembered like, I really like this. Mm-hmm. I love making movies and I love being able to tell stories. And that's just where it all kind of accelerates up. It was up here originally in 2012, like that 2012 to 2015 era when we're living up here. Mm-hmm. But then like what happened? I mean, it happens all the time. It happened this past year of Verizon. They reorg a lot because I mean, it's a lot of money moving all the different directions, but they
Right.
reorg and they eliminate that project. It's like you're gonna go back to the phones, and you might be able to shoot, and you might be able to make movies
Mm.
once a month, every once in a while. And I was like, we had just had our first son, and I was like, I know what the safe play is, and I can't do that. I
Right.
need to go work, do this full time. I have to bet on myself. So that's why we had to move to Columbia, because I worked for the fire academy doing multimedia down there,
Mm.
which was incredible. Ironically, pretty about five, I don't know, somewhere 3 to 5 years after Hunter had graduated from there for firefighting.
Okay.
So we kind of intersected at different times down there.
So how'd you end up? Okay, so you're so when did you get married?
2014.
Okay. So then and little one started?
Little one was in 2015.
Yeah.
And then
Nice.
2017, and then 2019. So
It
Wait,
kept going.
yeah.
Have y'all figured out what's causing that?
I think we have, and it has been fixed. I'm hoping that sticks for me.
I got you. Good deal, man. So are you was there ever any thought to move back to Charleston, or was it just like Greenville is
No,
where we're at?
This is a good question. So, like, what's great about being here was my wife's mom, her stepdad are here. So that is coverage for the children, especially since we moved back, which was because of COVID. That's another whole. When we talk later about storms, we can talk we can get into that one. But like the thing about being here is there was opportunity. I feel like more opportunity for what I do here for her with Michelin, tons, but also her mom and stepdad being able to help with kids, them being able to see their grandkids. That's important. The thing in Charleston is like it is cutthroat. It is extremely competitive in video to the point where, and I even hate saying video. I never like saying video. You know that.
What do you say, cinema?
No, I say filmmaker. I'm a
Filmmaker. Okay.
And the reason being is like I always feel like video feels cheap.
Right.
Like if you're making a movie, if you're making a film, it means something. Whether or not it's good or not is different. It may
Well, the
not.
one that you made with me, that was a movie.
Oh yeah.
That was a
Straight up. But in Charleston, man, like it is tough. Like, and the thing is, like, people undercut the market. They'll do videos down there for like $300, $500, and it's like the problem is like that quality is worth way more than that. But people, just to be able to get a job, are undercutting themselves just to get something in there. And then what it's doing is people who have like really good equipment, they have lights, they have mics, they have everything, they have all the professional equipment. They're like, okay, well, the bill will be $5,000. They're like, well, somebody just told me they could do it for $500. It's like,
right.
It just hurts everybody.
Right.
So that's why like Greenville at that time was really good for it. And I'm also fortunate, man. Like I'm in a position where like I'm full time. Like I'm not having to freelance to make ends meet. So it's different. I think if you can land something in house, awesome.
So how'd you end up with Hunter?
You want to get into the storm now, or
no? We'll
save that.
We'll come back to that. Let's finish on the family part.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about your childhood, the makeup, your family. Kind of what's the siblings like. What was going on with that?
So, my dad and my mom are both from Nebraska, different parts. My mom was she lived in Hastings, which like it's not like pretty much in Nebraska. You got Omaha, you got Lincoln for the university, and then everything else is just whatever, because that's most people do. If you throw out names, it's like whatever.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When I hear Nebraska, when I hear Oklahoma, when I hear Iowa, I feel like it's all just one big landmass. Like I don't picture it
if
as
you
being
drive.
like,
Well, when you drive through it, that's what it feels like. Because like especially like Nebraska is just like it's farm, and it's a lot of farming communities that really just like have a few hundred to 1,000 people or whatever. My dad comes from a farming side. My mom doesn't. She comes from more like just like I said, like near Hastings. She ended up going to school around Omaha and everything. And so the reason it's important though is like my dad's mentality. Like he comes from a German farm,
okay,
where it is hard work. But my dad, like, and it's like that Renken farm. What's really cool is like it's like 700 acres or something out there. It's great. It's really cool. It's something that's been around a long time, and I'm always very proud of it. Even though I may not know a ton about the minutia, what goes into it, and everything. I'm very proud that that's out there. My dad though was like he wanted something more. Like he didn't want to just be on the farm,
Mm-hmm.
for better or worse. And I don't know if that's something like when I go back and look at that history, if that's something that was received very well, but he wanted to get out and see the world, so to speak. And that's what's always cool about when I figured out why he loved Star Wars and Star Trek. I was like, I get it. Both characters come from farming backgrounds. They want to get out. So I was like,
Really?
yeah.
I never paid attention.
James C. Kirk from Iowa.
Okay.
Luke Skywalker, farm boy on Tatooine.
Okay. All I knew was Superman. I remember seeing him in a barn one time.
It's another one. That's a great call.
Yeah.
But he joined the Navy, and he was incredible. Like just an incredible, not just doctor, but just like the faculties to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And again, where I start here, and this is important, is like this is all stuff that is instilled into me and my sister at an early age. Where things get tricky is my father took his own life when I was 11. I'll just skip right to that part because like that's how it felt as a kid. Like I didn't know what went into that. Like what there weren't like signs, there weren't like things or whatever. Like my dad was hard on me to an extent, like not like terrible, but like you work hard. You're an A student. You get A's. If you get B's, that's not acceptable. If you get an A minus, that's not acceptable. There is a threat. There is a standard in this household.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I perceived it. And that was tough, like in those first few grades. What's interesting is after that point where he passes and my mom's like got to kind of figure this out with me and my sister, it's kind of neat because I feel like I got to grow in a different way. Like everything happens for reasons.
Right.
But my upbringing becomes then like I care about doing well, but like I'm not like destroying myself when I don't. Like my mom was really cool about like, I want you to work hard. I want there is a threshold I want you to get to in terms of, grades. I have expectations, but like, I'm not like,
right.
I'm not going to crush you if one or things don't do well. And that's important for me now as a dad. Like I try to be that way with my kids, but that's something that's just really important because like, once I start getting a job and like figuring out like, I'm like, I was a very quiet kid in school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't cause problems. I wasn't like, I was so focused on doing well that I had friends, I hung out, I did stuff, but like, you didn't have to worry about me smoking, drinking, doing anything. Cause I was like, just scared to death. Mm-hmm. Even for years after he passed, like, I didn't want to screw up for my mom at all. Wanted to lead the household as best I could for her and my sister. And that's one of those things that like, once I started working at a movie theater, that's where it felt like that was that next evolution for me. And I felt like I got to develop socially a lot more. I figured out a lot more things about myself. Like, man, I do enjoy this movie thing. I do enjoy like talking about movies with people. I enjoy like these types of conversations. I found out I also really liked wrestling and I did that too. And that was crazy. Like there was all these different things, but like that moment in time, like that was, and what's funny is like, that's not even what I consider my storm because like it happened and I was like, all right, we're moving on. And for better or worse, maybe I have some empathy problems later on, but like that was important because that period of time, especially when I get into high school and I'm getting close to going to college, like I felt like I'd kind of figured out who I was, but then there would be another one and that gets down the road with what happens with my mom. So, but yeah.
Well, what was the, man, I can't imagine 11 years old. I'm trying to think back, but you were pretty close with your dad. He just,
Oh yeah. Like, that's why, like, and it took a long time before I actually went and talked to a professional about it. But like, I think what's the reason I had hesitated for so long was not like, I don't mind talking about it. It's no problem talking about it, but it's not like, there's no like, there's no darkness or mystery to it. It's just like, I love my dad. My dad loved me, but my dad had a lot of like failure, like him, like encountering failure. And it took, and honestly, it was crazy. It wasn't until I was working at Cornerstone that I learned everything. So you're talking like 20 years of my life. Like I did not know, like, what was going on with him up here and everything. I mean, he was a guy who had tremendous success, was meticulous about everything. But when things did not go well, that was what he couldn't handle. There was just a lot of emotional disconnect that my dad had, that he didn't share. Like, that's what I love about Revolt, when just to tie it back into that, people sharing the reason that's really important to me, seeing that and witnessing people like you share. My dad didn't share anything, even with my mom. My mom knew nothing about like some of the things that really, and I don't know, that's stuff that can go back to when he was a kid. I don't know. I don't speculate on, I don't cast shade on anybody in my family about it, but
Yeah, I talk about that a lot. You know, I really kind of feel like I have three parents. I have my dad, really kind of four. My grandmother, I lived with my grandmother pretty much from about a year to about 3.5 years old. I lived with her. So my dad was young. He was 17. My birth mother was 15 when they had me. And I ended up, they split up, and I ended up with my grandmother for a little while, on my dad's side. And then my dad got remarried, and then I moved in with him. And then that's kind of where I spent my life. So I have my stepmom, my dad, my birth mother, who I didn't really have a relationship with. And then my grandmother always felt like probably the person I should have grown up with and, lived my life with, but didn't happen that way. But as I was I lost my grandmother steadily over a few days. So I was able to kind of communicate with her. My dad, kind of a similar situation. And then in my stepmother, she faded over a pretty extended period of time. So I had some conversations with them. Now, my birth mother was very sudden, and there was no real communication there. But I can say that things got uncovered after my birth mother had passed, and my stepmother had passed, and speaking with another family member who was around during that time, really the last person that's available to kind of give me information. And she was able to put together some stuff for me that I had no idea. Like, I had a perception of why my birth mother was not in my life. And then she was able to shed some light on some things that made a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it wasn't just like didn't want you. But the damage is already done. Like, at that point, like, you just thought, this is, you're just not worthy or whatever. So you kind of go through, and it's all perspective. And I guess I learned that, and that's why I'm not judgmental towards anybody, because you are seeing it through your lenses, through what you take as the truth. But you're not in their shoes. You don't see, from the other side, and other games that are being played with people and leveraging this and that, and how relationships work in the adult world and how they affect our kids. Like, our kids are always the victims of just complete chaos in adults' lives. And I guess I just never also my man Theo Vaughn. I love Theo Vaughn. He's a comedian. I don't know if you watch Theo, but
No.
he is a trip. But anyway, he says this thing, and I've said it, I think probably the last two podcasts I've talked about it, but he was like, why would I he was a white guy, grew up in Louisiana, around, a lot of black kids. So he had this thing where it's like, dude, like, they're saying that, man, y'all are holding us back. Y'all are holding us down. It's like, dude, why would I hold you down, then move right next door, bro? Like, I'm right here with you, dog. Like, so, and I feel like the same way with my parents. Like it wasn't like they had some great life, and we were just like, we wasn't out there, eating popcorn for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They were in there eating fillets in the bedroom. Like, I mean, we're all on this journey together. So I never held anything against anybody. Like, it's just, you did the best that you could at the time of how you, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's hard whenever something like that with your father that affects you so deeply and affects the rest of your life. I mean, relationships with your kids that are never going to come about, like all these different things that you think later on about the domino effect of that moving forward. But
that perspective, though, is so important. Like, because your perspective and someone else's perspective on that within your family can be different based on knowledge, experience, things of that nature. See, my mom's perspective, she was angry. She was very angry about what he did, because she's like, look what you've left me. Like, I have to, my mom, and what's crazy is she never had a job. Like somehow based on like how, I don't know if it had to do with like Social Security or whatever. Like pretty much for our entire like middle school and high school, she was able to do this while being a homemaker, which was insane. I don't know what, and that's the thing. There's things I'm sure she had to move things around to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting though is like when I learned things much later, like again, like September 2020 is when I encountered this person who was able to kind of open these doors up. When I learned that, like, you know, my father had an extramarital affair. Did not know that. I'm not sure if my mother knew that, but when I found that, I was like, okay. And I knew my dad was in a high, like a very high leadership position. So I'm like, is this one of those things? Like there were some things I was like, I was very careful about asking. I was like, but don't tell me like this was was it like, we're not getting into some bad territory with this. And he's like, no, it wasn't. This was a mutual thing. I was like, okay, cool.
He wouldn't try to leverage his position.
Yeah. Cause I was like, man, that, you know, but I was like, okay. And then I know there was others. I'm sure there's some other things as to how things would kind of snowball, because the eventual end game was going to be like, they were literally going to come and take him to jail. And he was going to be court-martialed, dishonorably discharged. And it was going to be the worst possible thing. What's fascinating though is in perspective. Like if you look at it from just a 30,000 foot view, it's like, oh, he just took his life to just avoid it. Right. I could see people saying that. But when I also think about the fact that like the timing, before being like arrested, incarcerated, he does that. He immediately closes the case. So all the benefits were able to go to us kids, all his benefits. If he doesn't do that, like that is an incredible sacrifice. And I was like, that is like, when I heard that, like it floored me, because I was like, could I do that for the sake of my kids? Like that is incredible. Granted, under terrible circumstances. Right. But that man literally sacrificed so that we would be taken care of to some extent afterward. That was nuts. And that's perspective that like I'm not like I have, my sister has, and we're cool. Like we understand, like we get it. Again, like maybe we both have some empathy things we got to work out whenever we encounter tragic things, where we just kind of have this stone face, like, all right, well, what are you gonna do next? But it helps so much learning that, because I was like, I think like I actually like am like more proud of being your son now than I was before that, for crazy reasons. But you know, that's that thing. That's what's so neat about experience and perspective, is that like they're not set in stone. Right. They can change, they can evolve as you get older, you know, and that's what's really cool.
Well, you know, we're fortunate enough to live. It's kind of like every time I've had something kind of tough happen to me, like it makes me grow a little bit more. It gives me a different perspective. It teaches me another lesson. You start being more intentional about, okay, where was the lesson in that? Like, I mean, and I think as you grow, you become more intentional about trying to find the good and the different perspective. Actually look, because when you're younger, it's just like you see it the way you see it, and you don't really care to get on the other side of the table and look at it from the other side. So I think as you get older, you find more peace in a lot of things that's happened to us, because we naturally evolve into more of an understanding, empathetic, you know, point of view.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so that's really cool, man. So tell me a cool story from your childhood, something funny, something that happened that was a party story.
Childhood. So you're saying like what age range? Like
they're just something that you tell and you find people like kind of fun. Like I just told a story about us playing baseball with frogs. So that's what had happened on the last episode.
So what's funny is like my childhood is like it is largely post my father's passing, largely uneventful, and I am just like I'm a quiet kid. I won the superlative for most polite in 8th grade going into high school, which was hilarious.
Right.
And when you get though into my early 20s, So it's not exactly childhood, but it's 20. It's going. I'm 40 now, so I'm gonna count it.
Right.
I have always loved pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling.
Mhm.
I may not follow it like as much as I did back then, but from afar, I keep in touch with how things are
Sure.
going. Certain things. Back then, though, I was really into it.
Did you have a belt? Did you buy one of the belts?
If you buy one of the belts, you got to be able to defend it. That's my rule. Like, so if you bring that thing, like it's game on. No, I never had like a real belt.
Yeah, I got you.
I had like
All right.
a foam belt when I was a kid.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm at the theater and I'm checking the newspaper one day, and there is a local independent wrestling group that is looking for people to be involved. And I was like, I would like to write, because I like,
Script.
yeah, I love, because at this point I'm writing stories. I'm like, I would love to do storylines, especially long-term storytelling and this or that, this reversal. This guy's a heel, he's a face, blah, blah, blah. And I go there and like they look through, I was like, oh, this would be great. I even get interested in doing commentary, which is like a big shift for me, because again, like I'm still kind of figuring out what my personality is beyond just like a kid who went to school and did his work and all that stuff. Well, one day I go, because like they just set up a ring in one of the guys' backyard. Like they set up a ring.
Right.
It's all set up, and like they tear it down, take it to the show. But on the weekdays, it's just set up back there, and people go out and
Practice.
practice. Yeah. They do bumps. And I'd go out there just to kind of learn and understand, like, okay, this guy is this person, and this guy is this character. That guy's red, white, and blue, so he's America. Like he's that character. I got you. Oh, he's the devilish kind of, enigmatic character. Okay, cool. One day there's only one trainer there and there's nobody there. I'm like, oh, okay. And just to kill time, they're like, hey man, you want to go take bumps? And I was like, really? All right.
Right.
And I get in there and I start back bump, just falling on your back.
Mhm.
That's where it all starts. Okay. Not bad. You get used to it.
Mhm.
It's not like a mattress. People a lot of times, there is like a thin thing, maybe of foam, but that is it. Or the rest of it is like you're hitting boards and all that. And yeah, then I do face bumps, Superman bumps, whatever, flip bumps, then flipping onto my back. I was like, I never knew I could do this, but I can front flip onto my back. Great. Then you run the ropes, make sure you grab it with your right hand so you don't go flying over. Okay. And then before the end, while this thing's done, I'm like, I think I'm a wrestler now. I think I want to do this.
Right.
So I start and I weigh all of like 130 pounds.
Okay.
Soaking wet. But I was like, I think I'm gonna go make a character now. Like this is gonna be great.
I can't wait to hear what your name was.
So it's on my jacket. I always keep it with me. I was like, I need to be something that's not me now. Like I don't want to be a quiet this or I need to try to be larger than life,
right,
compared to what I am now. So I became Mr. Showtime.
Mr. Showtime.
That was it. It was Mr. Showtime. I'd put on my sunglasses. I'd wear a gaudy shirt, and I'd go out there and I would just talk shit.
Right.
And what was funny was like, I'm not going to tell you I was a great wrestler or a good wrestler. I could do a finite amount of moves, and I could fill in the gaps with personality.
Right.
And that worked for the matches that
were you still able to write your own stuff? Like, were you still writing it?
What I found is like independent wrestling, like it is a show to show type of thing. There isn't like television.
No story.
There's not really. Like you have your diehards that will come to a show and they're like, I'm expecting this character. Like, oh, this is this guy. Last month he did this, blah, blah, blah. But that's the thing. It's once a month, not like every week. So that stuff doesn't really apply. So I was like, okay, no problem. But I got to run with these two giant dudes and be kind of like their talker.
Okay.
So I would talk, like I was in this stable, like I'm almost like I'm in the Four Horsemen, but I'm talking. I'm just the shit talker.
Right.
I got my own interview segment, and I would bring a picture of myself framed into the ring and put it on an easel while I talked to another person. And here's my favorite part, Kim. People hated me instantly. They hated me.
Right.
Like they legit hated me. Like I would sometimes have to try and not laugh at the things people would yell at me. Like they I would hear Stallone, Rocky. There's look at Keanu, not Keanu, it's Keanu. I would hear all the time, Showtime needs a sandwich because I was so skinny. I would wear just jeans into the ring. Like I would literally go into a bathroom stall. I would leave work at Movies of Mount Pleasant. I don't know if you on Coleman Boulevard, I would come over to the bowling alley in my work uniform, and I just throw on a pair of jeans
in the Charleston,
North
Charleston,
or in Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant. Okay,
I would just throw on jeans and a belt. I'm Showtime now because I have my sunglasses on. Hey, it's a transformation. It's just like Clark Kent Superman, right? And I would go out there, and then like
time out. How old were you during this?
Oh, I'm in my like 20, 21.
Okay, so you've not met your wife yet. I was wondering what does your wife think about this?
She's never seen it. So like she's never seen it, but because back then, like all I had was like what would have been awesome is if I could have filmed myself better, but not back then. Like I couldn't handle filming myself in wrestling, but that would have been cool. But what was neat was when I would work a match, I always, the arc of my matches was always the same. People would like hate me, but then I would get destroyed. Like I didn't mind it. Like I knew what happened.
Right.
Like everything's going to hurt tenfold in a real match in front of people because people we're moving at full speed. Right. And every single person is bigger than me. Mm-hmm. And like a few of them have like really like taken this seriously. And like they're going to try and move on to bigger things. Right. And I'm just getting destroyed. Like I remember one guy, his manager had like it wasn't a kendo stick because it wasn't the real deal, but it was like a knockoff one. He's beating the shit out of me with it. I am bruised. But
you're
then
you're like the Harlem Globetrotters, like the Washington Generals.
Yeah.
You're the Washington Generals.
But here's what's crazy. Like people started to cheer for me because now like they just like it's kind of sad. Like this. I mean, look at Matrix in the ring there. That's what I heard. That's come on, Matrix, get up, because they're doing the Keanu thing. Like, come on, Matrix, get up. And I would just be. I got concussed in a match once. We were in a battle royal, like they're fun when we're messing around, but when you're in a ring and it's just sort of what the hell are we gonna do? Like just everyone gets kind of bunched up. I'm doing
the battle royals, like everybody's in the ring at the same time,
and they're trying to throw each other out.
Yeah,
it's the greatest thing in wrestling is the battle royal because it's, everybody can identify with it. It's just like just like a bar fight, just throwing people out. I have this guy I've got one guy in a hold here. First of all, what was great was I told him, you whisper to each other like, wait, I'm holding his leg up. I'm like, kick me with your other leg. And he's got this deep Cajun accent. Man, I can't do that, man. I don't know how to do that, man. So I was like, I just leg sweep him. I put him in a hold. I turn him over. And these two guys line up and they kick me at the head at the same time. And I black out for a second. And I'm like, oh, well, this isn't good. I rolled out because you can go under the bottom rope and you're still in. Because I had to be into the finish. Like I'm the last, my team was going to be the last tag team left in the battle royal. So I had to somehow I had to figure this out. And it was crazy. Just like, yeah, I loved it just because like that's to take people on that journey, even though like this is a BS match, like at whatever bowling alley, whatever, like, but for people to go on this journey where like they cannot stand me, but somehow like they're rooting for me by the end of it. Cause it's just like, oh, this is pathetic, man. Like this is really sad. And then Showtime ekes out the one time I left my wallet in my it's the one match. This guy yells out like, "Don't take his wallet. He's got to get home." It was fun because that helped me learn how about storytelling in a different aspect. Like so when I went back to college for theater, I was like, I've had some education now. I only did it for like a year and a half, 2 years, but it was so educational in terms of like when we do a promo, like the back and forth, like, and how, like, I can't, like, if you and I are doing a shit talking thing at each other in the ring, if we're talking shit at each other and you say a line at me, like, I need to sell it. Like, I can't act like big and tough about everything that you've said because that doesn't make you look good. Right. That doesn't make the story look good. Right. So if you say something about like, oh, whatever, like you make some joke about my appearance, my family, whatever, I have to do the thing where I have to turn around and like,
like the guy that runs wrestling, what's his name? The guy, he's older now. The McMahon.
Not anymore. He's out.
Well, I'm saying like
But yeah.
what his reaction, like when somebody says, he's like,
Yeah, exactly.
he like look at the fans and
And
like,
there's
do
a
all
way
this
to
crazy
do it
thing.
where it doesn't look like ridiculous, like
Yeah.
totally ridiculous. But like that stuff is important. So like when you do theater and you're on stage and we know what our parts are in a scene, like the thing is like in any scene that you watch, there's a winner and there's a loser.
Mm.
There's a character that wins and there's a character that loses. Very like there's sometimes where we kind of leave with at an impasse. But
Mhm.
most of the time, somebody is winning that scene and somebody's losing it, and that's just predetermined by the script. If you know you're taking the L in that scene, your job needs to make them shine them up and make them look good.
Mm.
So when they drop whatever the line is on you or whatever, like you got to sell for them. You got to sell. You got to sell. Because if you don't, then you both look like idiots up there. It's like improv. Like
Right.
when you get up and do improv, have you ever done improv at any time? No. Improv is crazy because
I mean, that door-to-door sales is improv.
yeah, but
Like,
it is.
It really is. Like,
But it's listening.
Right.
It's all about listening. So like if the customer throws something out at you, like you have to like to show that like you're really connected, like you embrace that and you don't, it's not just like line, I'm just want you to finish so I can give you my line.
yeah, that drives me crazy.
That like no, like it's all about the connection. Like if we look like we're connected, they are going to connect with us.
Mhm.
Whether this is really any good or not, they're at least going to be invested a little bit, and that sometimes is enough.
We'll go shift back to the pro stuff. So you grew up. I'm 53. So my the timeline of when I liked wrestling, because like being in real fights and like real football that like would concuss you, like and all the other stuff, like I enjoyed the reality of sports. So like I kind of knew when I was 9, 10, 11 years old that what I was watching wasn't like completely real.
Right.
I kind of wished that it was. Like as a kid, like, man, I hope he whips his ass. Like I was a big Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant fan. And I remember like legit when they cut that man's hair off, I cried. And I was sad for like 2 weeks. I was like, dude, they cut off Jimmy's hair, bro. Like you can't do that. But I guess what broke it for me, I was 12 years old and I went to North Charleston Coliseum, and I talked about this on my last episode because you know Mike Siebert, the chef,
Yes, Chef Mike, yeah.
He's a huge wrestling fan too. So I'm sure y'all kicked it around at the thing. But we were talking about like when I saw them like pull a blood packet out and put like I was at the North Charleston Coliseum. I was up close. It was a cage match, and they were kind of like down in the corner, and I saw them. I was like, it's just rude. It's like walking in on your parents putting out Christmas.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell y'all doing? Santa Claus.
And that's
here.
And that I hate that because like real color is like you blade or it's a hard way.
Yeah.
Like you're either like the guys that blade that do it, like Flair was a magician at it. Like you would like most of the time you couldn't even tell. Most of them couldn't even tell where he had it. Like he could. Some guys hit it in their mouths, which is insane. They would hide that little bit, that blade, and then just.
How did Kabuki do that with the powder, bro?
So it's entirely like some guys that do that thing. They've either they have it in there the whole time, which is crazy, but like they've learned how to be able to breathe and be able to like to, move about without it being a thing, or, and this is where smoke and mirrors, cameras come into play. Like when some guy goes outside the ring or does this or that, that's where sometimes that's where you can sneak.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I did. I ate about $100 worth of chalk in like 3rd and 4th grade. Like I would steal chalk from art class and go home. My buddy, oh man, we would just try to figure it out, man. We'd be cutting up straws and putting it in there, and we wrestled there in our little trailer park. They had one of the green boxes over there, and that was our ropes. We would jump off and do our little stuff. And Joey had this kid named Larry in the figure 4. I jumped off. Like I went Jimmy's Superfly Snooker, baby. And I was like, bam, I jump out. And I think I was Ricky Steamboat. We kind of picked what character we're going to be. I think I was Ricky Steamboat on this one, the dragon. And I jumped down and hit Larry's legs while he was in the figure 4. And we just like snapped his femur, bro. Like broke it. Yeah.
Dang.
So the whole neighborhood was on wrestling restrictions. Like we could not, everybody's parents. I think that was the beginning of our HOA in our trailer park was like, parents got to get together and figure out how to fix these damn kids because these medical bills, because we were playing tackle football in the street, like the concrete. And so it was just, we were racking up some medicals, man.
The thing you don't see on TV, and this is where like I understand when people get disconnected from it. What I always try and tell them though is when you see it, like when you're in a locker room with those guys, that brotherhood,
Mhm.
I mean, it's damn near unlike any other. Because the difference between because I've been in a sports I've been in a football locker room, and that's intense because it's a team. Like you're going out there and it's war, it's whatever analogy, metaphor
Right.
you want to come up with it. What's fascinating about pro wrestlers is that I'm literally trusting you with my body,
Mhm.
and you're trusting me with yours. And we're gonna go out there and we're gonna beat the shit out of each other, and we're gonna act like we hate each other so bad. But in
Right.
the end, like we're in this together.
You're like, don't break my neck, dude.
No,
Like,
no. And
yeah.
what? Never work the right arm or the right foot because they got to drive home. That was always the number one. Work the left arm and the
Well,
left leg.
I can always respect like the athleticism, the choreography, and the ability to do the things they do physically. The crap. Look, I loved everything about wrestling. It was just when that moment hit,
Oh,
it was
I
like, dude, that is
I
so
get it.
depressing.
No,
I felt like somebody had died. Like, oh, why'd y'all take that from me, man? If I could have just not seen that.
Oh, absolutely. No, I get it.
But Rock and Roll Express,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh man, Wahoo, Dusty Rhodes, man, that was just God. I love.
Did you see his son just won? It was really cool.
No.
Cody Rhodes won it was the first Rhodes to win a world title. And
Really?
it was what made it fun was like it was extremely emotional. Like everybody felt it. The ring announcer felt it.
I don't even know
commentators
what he
felt
looks like. I've just
he's
completely
incredibly handsome young man. Like I mean, he's not a huge guy, but he looks great in a suit. He's got that beautiful blonde hair. Like he's a good looking man.
Really?
And he looks great as a champion. So
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So, all right, shifting gears. Your dad.
Yeah.
Going into like being a parent, you planned it. Obviously you're older, married, the whole deal. I started as a teenager and everything was backwards and upside down. But going into it, like what is kind of like what you thought it was going to be and what kind of hit you like, damn, this is different. Like,
so I probably should have prepared better. I'm cognizant of these books. I did not read the books.
yes.
My wife, to her credit, like was the one who got like. It's funny. Each of them were different, and the preparation for them as well. With our first, like my wife wanted to have. We had a birthing center. We're gonna do it natural. We went to the Bradley classes. That's like where you learn how. I swear it was like 12 weeks. I felt like we were on a treasure hunt. I told my wife, I was like, we had to do all these things. I was like, are they going to finally let us have our baby now? Like, are we okay to have our baby? But like, what I found interesting in the lead up to being a dad 3 times is that there's all this stuff to prep you for a normal process. But man, you really learn when there's a left turn that's got to be made or things go wrong. And it's fascinating with each of them. Like there were their own complicated, not necessarily at birth, but like afterwards, like Wyatt was born with pyloric stenosis. We didn't know what that was. That is like his esophagus, like was basically closed up. Like he was just throwing up constantly for his first few months. He dropped a considerable amount of weight and people couldn't figure it out until we got to the right doctor who was able to figure it out and they were able to pop that thing open. But like, that was scary. Like, he was getting to a bad place, like in terms of not being able to not carry any weight whatsoever. No books prepared us for that. Nothing prepared us for it. What was great was like now being able to like know, like going through the process of encountering that obstacle, what we were able to learn like as parents and just about ourselves, like how we handle this. My son Liam has apraxia as a speech it is a type of speech disorder. Like when he was born, like, and for his first couple of years, he could not talk. Like he could make sounds, but there were no words. It was very difficult for him to communicate. And this is all kind of peaking around COVID time. So like everything starts becoming telehealth and it becomes like people want to diagnose him as being autistic. And it's like, don't know if that's really what we're dealing with, but eventually we get to the right doctor and we learn that like, these are symptoms of apraxia. There's a disconnect between his brain and his muscles and his mouth. Like he wants to say these things, but physically he's not able to. There are no books that prepared us for that. There's no web series or nothing that prepared us for that. But going through it, like, and watching him go through the journey, like that's something that was inspiring for me and helped me learn about like patience within me,
Right.
being able to understand that like, okay, his journey is going to be a little different than Wyatt's. You know, River's birth was supposed to, we were hoping to have that at home, but then my wife's like the placenta came like unhooked or unhinged or whatever, and we had to kind of have it at the hospital with in front of a billion people, it seemed like, in that room. But it was what it was. Like, it was one of those things where like, okay, we had a plan. It's not going to go the way we want it. We're going to pivot to this. It's going to be fine. And we learned, like, what I enjoyed about those moments was that like in the heat of it, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, all right, all right. But then like being able to figure out, okay, this is what we got to do. This is how we move forward with this. And it's, again, just more nuggets of knowledge and experience for us to be able to, as we, like, you know, as the parenting evolves, now we're like, okay, now we have children that are 8, 6, and 4. Okay. I know a little bit more about being patient, like if they don't understand something, because we went through this when they were younger. That's what I've loved about it, is being able to, again, like work on my patience just as a man. Like I know when I'm working on a project, I am very tunnel visioned. I'm gonna get it done when I want it to get done, and that's it. Like that's just the way it's gonna happen. Kids aren't that way when they're learning stuff, or they're doing things, or my son playing soccer, like trying to grasp a concept. But it's about being patient, being able to teach, reinforce, try it a different way, this or that. Like that's been my favorite lesson throughout all this.
Right. Do you feel like, I mean, I kind of know the answer to this, but do you feel like having those challenging bursts and the things that kind of came after that with the physical conditions of the children, like how do you think that, how did that affect yours and your wife's relationship?
So to go tie back to, you know, when you're talking about Fearless 44 and even Trek, like sometimes you don't know why you're doing these things, right? These challenges that you put yourself through. I equate it to in Star Wars when Luke goes into the cave. He doesn't know why he's going in there, but he feels like he has to go in there. And Yoda tells him, like, your weapons, you don't need them. And he's like, only what you take with you is what you'll find in there. Well, he takes his lightsaber. What does he find? He sees Darth Vader in there. That's what that was why he needed to go in there, was to be able to go through that whole thing and understand that, like, you know, there is a line where you could cross, go to the dark side. That's that story. The reason I think that's important is I went through Fearless 44 and realized that I had a problem being able to be empathetic with my wife and things that she was going through, because I was fairly oblivious, because I was working so much at the time, like what postpartum was, and understanding that like my wife had a career that she wasn't able to necessarily be fulfilled in, because she was having to be a mom at home at the same time. And when I would get calls like from her, and this is like the 2018, 2019 range before we moved up here, and she's emotional, she's going through this or that, like, and a lot of this goes back to like how I dealt with my father's passing and even my mother's passing. It's like I kind of have, I don't have a fantastic empathetic reaction.
Right.
And I realized that when I went through Fearless, that like, that's one of those things within our relationship I always have to be better about, is being as empathetic as possible. Now we're in a place where like my wife's job is very intense. She has a lot to do. What the way I try to build upon that experience from the past is like, I'm going to be there. Like, I will figure out what I got to do on my work side, but I will make sure that things are handled at home. So you don't, like, you can focus on your work when you need to focus on work. And it's vice versa. When she knows I got to go out of town, I've got to do my thing, she gets help where needed, but she does a great job of handling it. That's where our relationship has grown to, is like now with us moving to France, like my role is predominantly going to be making sure everybody in that household is okay and supported and has what they need. So that's what's been fun about our relationship, is like, it's not just two working professionals.
Right.
It's not just like we're parents. It's just like we're having to support each other and our kids in increasingly different ways to be able to keep the thing moving, you know?
Right.
And that's fun. And it's frustrating at the same time because like there's some things where it's like, I need to go shoot this on this day. Well, she's got to go do this. And it's not like I used to jokingly say like, oh, your job's more important than mine. It's like, well, right now that what she's doing, that is more important than what I have to get. I can rearrange what I need to because what you're doing is important and I need to be there to support it.
And I'm sure like it's you think about like that postpartum thing, going back to that, like, man, the sacrifices that women make, like, first of all, just birth, having a child come out of your body, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
The stress that you have to feel. Then when things go wrong, and then you're at home, and for the most part, we as dudes, man, we just still go live our life. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're just still,
next day we're ready to like,
you know what I mean?
hop
Like,
back into it.
like I can't use the effect, you know, the excuse that oh, I had 3 kids, so now my bladder, like I gotta pee all the time. Like that my 3 kids didn't affect my bladder. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like they go through so much, man. So I'm sure that her having this, you know, what's going on professionally, this moving you guys across the pond is probably pretty exciting for her to get back, you know, get back in her field and her purpose, you know, professionally.
It is definitely an apex. I don't even like it's like it's a nice summit to graduate to until there's the next one to go after as well. I mean, it's I mean, man, you've been in the retreats. It's about fulfillment. That's what it's all about. Like if I didn't make a penny shooting for the rest of my life, I'd be fine because I just like making movies. That's all I like doing. What she likes being able to do is my wife likes to lead people. She likes to develop people. She likes to give people opportunities and watch them grow. Like whatever else, like that's a fulfillment I see in what she does. Not just tires and not just ads and that type of thing. It's developing people. Like when I heard about like I'm really proud of her for is that, you know, in a management role, like in that type of corporation, like you're kind of told the people you should be hiring. Like when you see the list of people and like these are the people that have applied, and well, she took chances on people that they didn't necessarily want, and they've developed into great. They were the right pick because her team flourished. And when I hear them like really thankful for my wife giving that opportunity, like that's what makes me really proud for her. And that's where I think is her true fulfillment is just being able to help develop people into and help them find, you know, maybe what is fulfilling for them. What's that next step of fulfillment? There's never, and it's to say like our fulfillment is complete, I think is wrong. Like, you know, there's a fulfillment for now, there's a fulfillment for a year, 3 years, 4 years from now, whatever.
Right. So it changes all the time. You know, that's one of the 5 footprints we discuss and try to be intentional about is faith, family, fitness, finance, and fulfillment. And we've actually got a series of questions you ask in each category to kind of get a score. So you can kind of see where you're stronger and weaker at, so that those treks can kind of. So fulfillment is the tricky one because it's such a wide range. You know what I mean? It's like the other things kind of fit into a certain box, and fulfillment almost includes all 4 of the other ones and then some. So, but fulfillment is like to find true fulfillment. I think it's a balance of the other 4 things. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like everything kind of in harmony and trying to bring that together. But
I try to also think about like I tie it into income. If there was no income attached to it, would this make you happy? And if it does, that's awesome. Because then like, no matter where you're at in life, you're going to love this. You're going to enjoy it.
Right.
Like you spoke at RoofCon, you didn't get paid for it.
Right.
That room loved you. And I could tell you loved it. I shot it from like 3 different angles. I could tell. That shot that I use is my favorite, the one where you point out to the crowd, that one bit of B-roll.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch the video. I don't know where that's at.
It's awesome, but like I can tell it's fulfilling for you, and you didn't get paid a dime to do that.
Nice.
And I have no idea. Like it's not my business. Like what kind of leads or whatever you got out of it, but it doesn't matter. Like you poured into other people, and it affected people that day. They took that home, and in some way, shape, or form, they were able to apply it.
Right.
Whether it was successful or not, that's on them, and that's a different thing. But to be able to set them up for that, that's how I know that's fulfilling for you in that type of coaching.
And I think that's where, like what you do, you know, with videography and or what do you-
Filmmaking.
filmmaking. I'm sorry. I knew I was wrong as soon as I started. I was like,
I'm very
don't say it,
pretentious,
don't
I'm
say
sorry.
it. And then I said it. I was like, God.
It's okay.
But it's like it's about other people. Like
Right.
you're sitting there because I don't know how the hell you do it at these retreats, bro. Like you're all day filming, running around with cameras, and you know, it's just crazy to see you're ever present. Like in every room, it seems like I'm in. You're there, and it's just continuous. And then we break and we go to eat and everything, and then you go over there and get on the computer and start uploading and downloading and reloading and whatever all loading you do. And then you're just like doing all the stuff. And then end of the night, like we do this and that and everything, we're doing the fireside chat. And you still, once you get done with that, you got to go and do everything. So we wake up the next morning and there's this like cinematic like masterpiece. This like play is like, what in the hell? When did he do this? Like, and you're there filming this, like watching it. Like, it's like, my God, dude. But the only thing that makes that happen, forget what you get paid for it or whatever, but it's the passion.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the reactions of the people when they're watching that video is what fuels you to go.
100%.
And it's the same thing with me. And it's the same, like I know you're being fulfilled for what you do, and I'm fulfilled in that. And a big part of what my journey here the last few years have been, and we talked a little bit about this before we jumped on here, but just really figuring out what my purpose is, like what fulfills me, because I don't do things for money. Like I can't, and I'm sure you're the same. Like I do it for the fulfillment. How can I serve other people? How can I, if nobody liked your videos, then why would you do it?
Right.
Like
Right.
that's your fuel.
Right.
And for me, it's like pouring in other people. And it goes back to coaching. Like you mentioned earlier, all the teams I coach, man, and some of those are paid positions and some of them weren't, but I was not going to give any less to, this is crazy, but like a 10 and under church basketball team was still going to have the game recorded. And I was still going to do a spreadsheet on your shooting percentages. Like,
I love
we're
that.
still going to, and
Love
no
that.
different than when I'm coaching a high school, C team or JV team or whatever, middle school team. Like it's going to be the same level for me because like I'm trying to get you better and I'm trying, and so it's just great to, because a lot of people never find that. Like they never find what really truly fulfills them. And they're just going from just pointless position to pointless position. And they're just trying to connect the dots with finances just to pay bills and stuff. And at some point, like for me, it's like the bills are going to get paid, bro. Like, the Bible even says like, if you don't think I'm gonna take care of the birds and, the wild animals out there, you don't think I'm gonna take care of you. Like, so just, I know there's a guy named Myron Golden that I listen to a lot. And Myron is a super powerful speaker. He's kind of like a motivational speaker. He used to be a pastor and he's also an entrepreneur. So his content is kind of a blend of a lot of different things. Like, but he talks about you have to do things in a certain order. And he's got biblical things that line up with it. But it's like, be who you're supposed to be first and then do the things you're supposed to do. Then you'll have but it's like, you can't go out of that order. You know what I mean? You can't say, okay, I want to have that. What do I need to do? Okay, I got to do these things. Well, it doesn't matter if you're not being who you're supposed to be. Like, then it's never going to work. It's going to fall apart at some point. So it's really the last probably year and a half, 2 years, because it's been a constant journey. You've kind of seen my full range from 2020 when the wheels completely fell off to where I've been trying to build towards, to where I'm at now. And I'm still got, ways to go, but it's just definitely night and day from where I was. But I can say that I've been more intentional about not worrying about what I have or even what I'm doing, because I've changed some roles a few times, but it's more about me being who I am, who I'm supposed to be. And then those other things will take care of themselves. Right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just I don't know if it's that they don't choose to grow out of that spot that they're in, or they really see it, because a lot of times we're so close to things we can't see it. So we're just constantly in the jungle, man. Like we never get above the trees to kind of look and map stuff out. But I think a big part of that is stuff like Revolt, Fueled, and like now for the Bison Tribe, how we'll be able to serve people within this community. But it's getting around people who have that 30,000 foot view and look at things differently, and their thought processes are different. And, things like that. But tell me how being part of Revolt and being in those rooms with those people and seeing that intentionality, how that's affected you and how you've been able to bring that back into your life.
Dude. So it's wild when I go to a retreat. Like, this is something I've heard Hunter talk about, and I do the same thing. He talks about when he goes to the airport, says goodbye to Maggie and Turner, turns, walks away, does not look back. It's game time, right? He flips the switch. I do that to an extent because my wife knows when I go there, like, there will probably be a night where I don't sleep. I don't tell her that, but she also knows when I tell her, did you sleep? How'd you sleep? Oh, I slept great. She knows that means I didn't. There was one night I didn't sleep at all.
Right.
What I also do intentionally, I almost fully disconnect from home. I will text with my wife, but I don't call, and I don't expect to have any calls because I want to feel it. And what I mean by feel it is I want to miss them.
Mhm.
And I miss them because I hear all you guys talk like about either good things going on within your family or things where maybe things aren't happening the way they should be in your family due to maybe like things that happen with your dad, with your parent. And what I love is that like I'm constantly like my radars are always up because I'm trying to figure out what the story is at a retreat.
Mhm.
But while I'm also working, I'm also like I'm feeling it myself.
Mhm.
And I love it because then I'm like, I can't wait to get back to my kids because I know I can do this better. I can be more patient. I can be more intentional. I can do so many of these things that these guys are talking about. I can do them myself. And it hurts in a great way. Like there are times where like I'm at retreats and I'm beating myself up because I'm thinking about how I wasn't as patient this one particular day or whatever with any of my children or my wife. And I'm like it hits me. And that's what makes coming home all the better because I've intentionally disconnected myself so I can like understand what it feels like to miss them
Mhm.
and not have them around and understand like this is weird, like not like taking how much we take for granted just our day to day, how people pass in and out of rooms and everything. That's what I love about it. Like
Mhm.
I love the pain and the hurt that it brings because then I'm like I'm going to appreciate this all the more. Being gone for a week, being like I was in Utah for the Revolt retreat. Then I went to Denver to visit with Mark Almond and hearing his story. And like, you talk about like, when you observe these things, like him getting to share just 30 minutes of skiing with his oldest son. And the reason we filmed that was because that like his son was the reason he got into roofing. I was like, that's fascinating. The way you got into roofing was to be able to support and care for your son in a single parent household. Okay. That's interesting. So them, like his son's in his 20s, them getting to have this moment up there. And I could tell like just that 30 minutes meant the world to them to be able to share that together, even for just like we're making a movie. Like this is just a short intro to this film that has to do with their company story, which I know sounds bizarre that we would have random skiing in it, but it makes sense when you hear the whole story. But that moment hit me because I was like, I cannot wait till I have like when my kids are older and we can have these types of short moments together
Mhm.
and it still energizes the both of us.
Right.
Man, I miss my kids right now. I want to get home and see them.
Right.
And I love that. Like that's that's why like people joke about the movies like being like, oh, will you make these sad like it's like, yeah, because that's what it feels like to be in everyday life. There are funny things,
Mhm.
there are action things, there are thrilling things, and then there are poignant things that like help us grow.
Right. Well, I think that's probably the biggest lesson I've taken away from being in those situations and traveling. And it was well documented there for about a year and a half, how every time I tried to travel somewhere, the universe was against me. It's like, dude, I spent the night in Dallas airport one night. It was just some crazy stuff. I ended up
remember.
getting on 4 planes instead of 2 one time because they were trying to connect stuff because of this and that. I was like, what the hell? So, but I think going back to what I said, like having opportunities to go out and travel and do those things, and be in those rooms and hear those conversations and learn those lessons through other people. Like, I mean, like, do I have to make the same mistake as this guy made, or can I learn from what this conversation like? It's I forget who says this. One of the guys in the roofing, this big that out there with anyway, he says all the time, he says, well, I paid the dummy tax. Like figuring out this process, like don't
Right.
go do the same thing. Just I paid the dummy tax. Just do what I'm trying to tell you to do.
Right.
But it's like so. But the biggest thing I take away from all that is just intentionality, man. Like we have to be where our feet are, and you hear that all the time. But there's so many times I can be in conversation with somebody and my mind isn't something. Like I can be in the same room and I don't watch TV as much as I used to. I very seldom I catch sports, live sporting events, and I watch some podcasts. There's a few podcasts that I watch, but my TV, I may go 4 or 5 days and my big TV not even be cut on. Like I'm just so much more intentional, man, than what I used to be. And it's because of being in those situations and learning that time is running out, bro. Like we're just,
So the movie A Few Good Men,
Mhm.
the trial scene, everyone knows it, right? When they're shooting it, like the way you shoot a scene like that is like you get coverage. Like all right, so we're going to do the wide shot of the whole room while they do the scene. Now we're going to do close-ups of this actor, that like it. And usually like one of the bigger the star, probably the higher up, so they can shoot you out and get you home or whatever. But a lot of times, like if you're shooting the sequence between Nicholson and Cruise, right? The final face off, boom, 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 they're going head to head. We're leading up to You Can't Handle the Truth, right? Well, the camera that's on Cruise, like Nicholson doesn't have to be there. He doesn't even have to like go full in with his lines if he's saying them. Like you just kind of you're just saying them just so they have something to react to.
Yeah, you just give them the cue, kind of like
right. Yeah,
hitting the mark.
Nicholson though goes all out on every shot in that scene. And Rob Reiner, the director, is like, Jack, you're not even in the shot. Like you don't have to. And he's just like, I love acting. I love this. And then like it blew him away so much in one. He was like, he was kind of taken aback, like as a director, like, would it be okay if we did one more? And Nicholson's line is so simple. He just goes, well, we're here, we might as well. But I love that line because like we're in life. We're doing this thing. We might as well enjoy it.
Right.
Whatever that means for you, me, like we might as well enjoy it. So like right now, like having to juggle like multiple different shoots, a move to France or whatever, it's just like, it's not going to be like this forever. So I might as well enjoy it. Because what's the alternative? Being an asshole? No. We're here.
Right.
We might as well do it. So
let me ask a question, because I did a podcast with my kids. My youngest son Cody and Larkin went this past summer. Well, no, 2 summers ago. They went to Europe. And so they were wide open, man, for like 12, 13 days. It was kind of crazy. So we did a podcast. I actually shared a lot of the photos and they talked about everything. The big thing was when they were in France, it's like, and really Europe in general, there's no air conditioning. Nobody has ice. Like,
that's right.
It's just miserable.
We're fortunate the house we're going to has a dryer, because that's also something that's not a guarantee. Like you hang clothes. Like,
dude, we got to talk about this. Like,
but here, I went to Paris last year.
Okay.
I went there. This was before this thing got locked up and was going to happen. My wife wanted me to go there for my 40th. I was like, cool. Sounds like fun. Of course, I'm initially just like, I'm ready for people to be awful and assholes and hate Americans, whatever. And it is the coolest, most relaxing experience that I've been through, because they say over there, like, they work to live, where Americans live to work. Like, we love to work. We want to get to this thing. And then when that thing's over, we get to the next thing. Like when we go to a restaurant, we want to eat the food. And then, hey, man, go ahead and just start bringing that check right on over, because we got to move on to the next thing. It's not like that over there. Like, they really take time to enjoy just like talking to each other, enjoying a meal. Like, they don't necessarily have ice, don't necessarily have a ton of AC, but the feeling over there is just like, oh man, just like this is a chance for you to kind of slow down and just kind of enjoy just this whole existence that we've got.
Man, that's cool.
That's one thing I really enjoyed about it. Like that's the most relaxed I ever felt in my life, was out there. Even when we've been to couples retreats in Punta Cana or wherever, like all these different beautiful resorts or everything, walking through Paris, like, this is cool. This is neat. And people are really nice. They're really friendly. They don't, it's not just like, oh, American, fuck
Right.
you. It's
Right.
not that at all. It's really cool.
Cool. Well, they're hell inside the borders just like that sometimes. You go to like some towns like you're Southerner or you're
Really?
Yankee, like we turn on each other, bro.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about personal development. The end for our, Bison, we got our core values is be the example, impact our community, serve our family, overcome our demons, and never stop growing. The never stop growing is like big. Like now we're doing the 5 love languages, which I just finished it, I think yesterday. So very great book. I mean, I think guys by nature, you hear the 5 love languages, you're like, oh, like I'm not doing that. Like I've also not watched The Notebook, so go figure.
Man, that will break you.
What?
It will break you.
Really?
When you get to the act 3 and you get to the part, that's all I have to say for anyone out there who's seen it. When you get to the moment, it'll get you too. It's okay.
Worse than the Boogie Woogie Man getting his hair cut off?
Dude, yeah. It just, man, I don't even want to think about it too much because it'll get me again.
I'm scared to watch it now. I'm scared to watch it, dude.
Do you like to cry in movies? I love to cry in movies.
Like, give me an example.
Like, I'll give you one. Like, I cried like crazy. And it's because like it's a movie I shared with my dad. So when Top Gun Maverick came out, like I went to the super duper screening where we got the little poster and a pen, and it was like, I'm 40 or I was 39 at the time. Like, what am I going to do with this? But it doesn't matter. It's Top Gun. Like, that was so beautifully emotional. Like that movie.
Top Gun was emotional?
Top Gun Maverick, yes.
I mean, I cried in Rocky one time.
Oh, dude, the end of Rocky is phenomenal.
Well, I mean, the main thing is when what's his name died.
When
Mick died, dude, it's like,
and Stallone's one of those criers where like, you're just like, I don't know, like in Rambo when he does it in the first Rambo when he's you got the fucking legs. It's incredible,
right? Well, I don't.
I'm sorry,
I don't associate those with crying movies, but yes, I do get emotional. But the ones that are intentionally, like, when you go in there or you turn the movie on, like, okay, they're gonna try to make me cry.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually ready for those, but it's the ones that like blindside me that I wasn't ready for it. You know what I mean? But I'll cry maybe sometimes I was watching Patrick Bet-David. So I don't know if you know Patrick Bet-David.
I've heard
he's a podcaster, but he's an entrepreneur. He's a percentage owner of the Yankees. He's an Iranian immigrant that moved here, lived for like a year and a half, 2 years as a young teenager in a German refugee camp. And now he moves here, super poor. And now the guy's like elite of the elite, right? But I watch his podcast. It's pretty much the way I get news and everything is through Patrick's, because I don't even watch the news anymore. But he talks about politics and all these different things. But one of the things that he was talking about was God, man, I lost my train of thought. I started talking about Patrick Bet-David. What were we talking?
We're talking about crying. You get emotional movies. Like, what do you get?
Oh yeah, he had these 2 guys come on, and he brings them on to the podcast, and it's like these 2 younger dudes, and he showed a video because they actually, I guess he's promoting them or helping them out financially or something, but they basically showed a video where they walked up to this man getting in a car, and I guess he'd already put his wife in the car, and they're like, hey sir, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And it's just that, like, they're just filming it from their phone. Like, you don't see them at all. They're just talking to him, and you see him and turn and start talking to him. And so they gave him like $300, like just to like help out or whatever. And he got into tears, and turns out his wife's had cancer for a long time and didn't know if she was going to make it to the next holiday or whatever. And then they went back, and when they posted that, these people, everybody donated money. So they go back like a month or so later with $30,000 in like a briefcase, and they go to the guy's house and like give it to him. But like they showed that, dude, I'm crying. I'm crying watching that.
Man, if I'm on social and I see a video like it's at a supermarket, I'm like, oh no, I know what you're gonna do. Someone's gonna pay for the groceries because they can't. I'm like, I'm done. if there is a child whose dad or parent has been in the service and surprises them, done. I'm done.
Well, see, so that's what I'm saying. Like and you know me, bro. Like you said before, like I love when Ken comes because I know he's gonna cry.
No, but
So, but
like what I love is like it's the reason I love it though is like again, it's you're helping give permission for people to do the same because maybe they need it.
Right.
I cry all the damn time, so I don't know how I don't really need to like. It's not. I don't think there's a point where I necessarily need to, but some of these guys like it's a release for them, and that's what's beautiful about you doing it is that like when you're that connected to your stories to where like even if you've told it for the 15th, 16th time,
right,
you're gonna get emotional. That's like okay. I feel like I can get into the boat with that guy because
you know what it is though, William. It's almost like I know that everybody there has that in them. They have that pain, and I almost get emotional thinking about the pain that they're in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I feel it, but I also know I don't have the worst story out there. There's guys around this fire that in any certain category. Now, I guess I don't know if it's blessed or cursed. I don't know but I can actually identify with most of the categories you can talk about. But it's like there's some versions of those categories that are way worse than what I went through, and just feeling that energy that that yes, I'm going to share this, but like you said, it gives everybody else permission to tap in and realize that, okay, it's not going to be the end of the world if I let this out. Like, you know what I mean? Actually, it could be healing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've always been kind of emotional. I'm just like on the edge, and it used to manifest itself and emotional can be great, but it also can manifest itself in negative ways. Like you want to get angry all the time. Like it's not like you just control, okay, I'm going to get upset during upsetting moments. It's like, I'm also going to get pissed off during moments that might trigger me that way. I might, you know what I mean? Like you're just in that roller coaster. And I think that's probably what I've leveled out much more here recently, but I really do enjoy those retreats and being able to pour in that way. But as far as movies, I don't know what movies that I watched knowing that it's going to make me cry. Like, and it's usually like Rocky. Like when I say, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you watch the crying movies or whatever? Do you enjoy those? Like, I don't ever know when they're going to happen because I don't watch the sappy ones that are probably going to be sad necessarily. Right. I guess I have though. I have to think about it a little bit. You probably cried during Star Wars or something, don't you?
Yeah,
because you're so attached to the.
Oh yeah. The whole movie is the whole series, the original series, like what I grew up with. It's Luke versus Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Vader is his dad,
right?
Which complicates this conflict because now, like, to pretty much win this thing, to win this for everybody, I'm probably gonna have to kill my dad.
Right.
That's fucked up. But so when you get to that final moment when his dad is turned back, he kills the emperor, he saves his son, he tells his son, take my mask off because I want to look at you with my own eyes, like, even just one time. And he says, I've got to save you. He's like, you already have. It's just like, oh, it's just one beautiful line on top of another. And then like within like 15 seconds, his dad dies. And when
how shocked was he when he opened up, when he peeled it back and it was James Earl Jones?
Wouldn't that have been something? But what gets me in that scene is you think about the journey that guy's been on, and like he grows up with his aunt and uncle. They are murdered by stormtroopers. He meets this guy, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, cool. This guy's going to help me out. He dies within a day of meeting him. And he can only talk to him as a ghost. Oh, cool. This funny looking Muppet guy, Yoda, he's going to help me out. He dies too. He's never known who his mom is, except weirdly through like some dream or something like that, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the continuity, but whatever. Every single person like that he's met has been important in his life, with the exception of very few, have all died. And now here's this moment, like he gets to see his dad. Oh, it's my dad who chopped my hand off and for a little while may or may not have been trying to kill me. But now he saved me and I love him. And now he's dead. Like that, dude. That breaks because
See,
like
I didn't know all that. Like I don't think I watched it.
no,
Like,
it's
like
so
I just kind of watched it. Star Wars and Return of the Jedi. I remember Jabba the Hutt or whatever. I remember seeing him. I was like, oh, that guy's like massive. Like certain things I remember, and then some of it I just. And then when it started like Tom hopping back and forth, I was like, dude, I'd have to go back and start with the first one and start over because I don't know what the hell's going on. Like,
yeah, I love watching that scene because I'm just like, yeah, I feel it because it's just like, and I don't know, man. Like if there is a story with a parent dying, like I'm in, like I'm all the way emotionally in, and you're probably gonna, I will feel good and wrecked by the end of it, and that is awesome. I love that.
I also cried during Little Miss Sunshine when she started getting up there and pole dancing or whatever she was doing.
So for real though, I'll tell you, like that was a scene that people like legit got excited for in theaters because I remember working at the theater and that thing almost darn near won Best Picture. But when she gets up and does that, like as silly or ridiculous, that the people fucking love that scene. Just like I remember when the early word about 8 Mile, and you use 8 Mile a ton, like when in your teaching. When 8 Mile was being talked about when it was on the festival circuit and it played up at Toronto, they're like people were on their feet, pumped at that when that final battle goes down, because the journey you go on with the person, where like just getting their shit kicked in every single scene. When they finally rise up and make the moment happen at the end, people were enthralled. They loved it.
Yeah,
that's what's so cool about even Little Miss Sunshine. Like that scene is incredible because when you just see everything that family's been through, that is a perfect scene, and is a perfect scene to see with an audience because everybody feels it together, and that's what's cool about movies.
I just keep thinking about that horn that wouldn't stop freaking blowing, dude. Like it's like the little things. I pay attention to little things in movies that are freaking hilarious, and I think a lot. I'm not saying a lot of people, but like sometimes I'll just randomly start laughing at something, and nobody in the room's laughing. I was like, "Don't you find that horn like every time the horn blows, I bust out laughing?" And it's like I just noticed like that's why I love Theo Vaughn. Like Theo has these little small mannerisms that he'll just throw in there, just like, dude, you meant like that is so funny. Like that one little, it's one little thing. You know?
I'm gonna give you one more. This is an incredible like moment of like emotion and then laughter. The last movie I saw, I've only seen one movie, I think 2 nights. Oh no, I've seen a couple, but the last one I saw back-to-back nights, like I went back to the theater and watched it, was Ted.
Really?
The one with the bear. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So packed house. There's nothing like seeing a comedy in a full house. It's great because we're going to share in this, especially when it's really good and it's popping. Everybody's laughing. It just gets better. So we're invested in this bear because this bear is awesome, and he's like your friend, and like even like to a bad degree, he's your friend. He's influencing you in a bad way, but he's still your buddy. He's your thunder buddy. He's everything. The end of the movie, like when like he gets torn up and then like he dies, like the bear dies, like
really
Seth MacFarlane's no longer in there, is just a torn up bear. Like I remember like there was this like incredible silence and hush in the theater, like a real person had just died. And funny enough, like when the movie came out, there was a standee for it. It said like they had to blatantly put that it was rated R. Like they had to go out of their way to tell.
So it's not a kid. Yeah.
Well, a kid found his way in there with his parents, which was hilarious. So this kid's having a kind of a pretty good time throughout the whole thing. Whatever. Like it's funny enough for a kid to kind of get most of it. When that bear is dead, though, this kid is sobbing, and that's it for me. Like if I see a kid crying like that, like I'm done. I'm gone, man. And just
I would have been laughing.
But like, here's what's great. When he comes back, the euphoria in the room, you could feel it. It was palpable. And everybody's laughing hysterically because it's like, he's okay. Our friend is back.
Right.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Like, again, like that, when you go through a story like that with somebody, even if you're just at a retreat telling a story, you take somebody on a journey like that, like to be able to help people go through those emotions and it gives them permission to feel things.
Right.
unreal.
Man, I just love the way your mind works, man. Like you just take little things, and I know this through the years of having side conversations with you, or whatever. Like you just see things that a lot of people don't see, and then you're intrigued by things that other people might not even notice. And I just think that's special about you, bro. Like you got
I appreciate it, man.
Really
It's sometimes we take a leap. It doesn't, we don't quite connect, but like that's what's unfortunate is like I've shot so much with Revolt. I have this catalog. I have all this footage, and I have footage I randomly shoot here and there because it's like, oh, maybe I'm just testing or working something out. That's why, like, when it was time to do like Hunter's entrance video for RoofCon, I remember telling Maggie, like, I want to try something. Because one thing I love about Hunter is like, as much as like Revolt and Retreat is about giving permission, like for us to being able to get stuff off our chest, unload this stuff, get to a better place. Like Hunter doesn't want to cry at a retreat. He does not like he is very, very, very cognizant of his emotions because that's just something personal to him. Like he does not want to like get to that type of vulnerability. He will be vulnerable. He will share with you what he needs to share. But getting to that point is not something like. So I was like, I'm gonna do something where I may get myself in trouble, and it's gonna be okay because it'll be beautiful. Because when you think about what went into his journey to RoofCon, it's like guy almost dies twice with malaria. Like for him to even be there is pretty incredible. So I was like, well, I'm gonna stick you through the heart with this one.
right.
And what I'm gonna do is I went and constructed his video, I called this one a video, the entrance video for his walk on.
I was gonna say, man.
I know I'm using the word. I'm using the word because I'll do it this time. I'm not consistent yet with this, my pretentiousness, whatever. but I was like, I'm going to use his favorite song, which is Shinedown's version of Simple Man. And I had Maggie record Turner doing his life lessons. And as soon, because he thought I was just going to do a generic one, and recording him going through that, because I brought in multiple shots from over the years with him and Turner together, because I've shot Turner now since he was like 2 or 3 years old, now all the way up to where he is now. It's really cool to kind of get footage of him like that. Seeing him kind of break backstage, and he was kind of mad, but in a way that it was like, this is good, because I was like, I'm setting you up. You're about to talk through like how you nearly died, but you're here. That's really important to you.
Right.
That's one of the fun things that's about this job, is that like it's being a historian and an artist at the same time, like figuring out how to bring things back from the past that connect to the present.
Let me ask you this. Considering your skill set, your heart, your passion, I know you're not a person that you're always trying to push the boundaries. You're always trying to go to another level. You're always trying to grow professionally and personally. I mean, I can feel that. And then I guess my question is, what's something big that you have? I mean, that big BHAG for you.
What do you mean, like a
big, hairy, audacious goal?
Oh,
like,
okay. I got you.
Like, what do you?
I want to make a full-length motion picture that can be seen in a theater. That's what I want to do. Not just at a film festival.
Is Norton going to be in it?
Of course.
All right. I got new hats.
Whether it's a doc, whether it's a narrative picture, like that's the goal. I want to bring a real movie to a movie theater for people to see. The theater experience is like that's what I was talking about with those other examples. Like that's one of the greatest things you can ever have, is that community of it. Watching at home, watching on your phone, I get it. It's a part of society. It's where we're at. Like you're going to consume a lot of media that way. But if that's my hairy audacious goal, is I want to go out, I want to shoot shoot it soup to nuts, put it together like a motion picture that is to play at a movie theater, just like any other movie that we've seen.
So let me ask you this. So just going back to the way Hunter lives his life and how he interacts within Revolt and holds everybody accountable, what are your action steps that you've got working on to get to that?
So Revolt's been a big part of that, because like that's why I push myself, like, okay, what can we conceivably, could we put something together in a day? Yep, done it multiple times. But now like trying to like bring in almost like actors, voiceover, like each of the videos or movies, I'm trying to like bring in like another element that would be a part of what you would see in a motion picture, like a title sequence, bringing in more voiceover or ADR, things of that nature to try and like make it feel more and more cinematic. So what's going to be a big part of my steps now is this new chapter, living in France. Like now I'm going to get back to like my first goal is getting back to my basics, like writing a script. I used to love to write a lot more. Now, like with Revolt, it's a lot more of just documentary filmmaking. Like I'm filming on the spot. There's no writing really involved with that till after the fact, really. But I need to polish out. Like I've had 4 or 5 ideas in my head. I'm like, okay, trying to go through the ones that are feasible that I can shoot even over there. The first step is writing the script. That's what I want to do within the first, like once we get settled in, we've got kids going to school. Wife's good at her job. She's feeling good. Like, and I'm like, okay, I can concentrate on me. I've got to write the script first. I've got to write it out. That's probably my first 30 days is just let's get it pen to paper, get the draft, and then start refining it, making it work.
Right.
The next step after that is then like, okay, I know I've got equipment, but I can't do this by myself. I need to start figuring out how to build a crew. I need to build a crew that will be able to help me bring it to life. Then on the next step is actors. So
so you want to do it yourself, so you got to get your own actors. So it's obviously not going to go through a studio or anything. You're just going to be all.
Oh no, man! I am 100% somebody. It's like if you have an idea, you need to go shoot it. If it's with a phone, if it's with a GoPro, if it's with the camera on the back of your car, whatever you got, figure out how to be able to shoot your movie. You just figure
back of your car.
I've heard of people doing this before that they actually figured out how to do it.
Here, I need you to sit by this license plate and read these lines. You up a card.
I mean, there are people that have made motion pictures for cinemas that are just use iPhones. Like it's possible. Yeah. There's no excuse not to do it. You don't like. I am not going to wait on anybody. I'm definitely not at the age now where I need to be hoping that somebody's going to come to me. Can you do this? No, I need to. If I want to do it, I need to do it myself. I need to get it started and then build. Like get people. If I need help in a particular department or whatever, I'll bring them on.
Very nice. Well, going back to, I know I started talking about the never stop growing aspect and personal development and those type of things. You're always have wise words. You don't speak a lot at the retreats. A lot of times you're just so focused and dialed in on what you're doing. But I've heard the times that you have spoken up, and I hear you on side conversations giving advice and talking about life. And you have a lot to give, man. Like it's unfortunate that you're so much behind the camera and not actively participating in a lot of that stuff because you do bring so much value. But in this moment, if you could kind of talk about any personal development type stuff that you've plugged into, how you continue to grow in those type of ways and maybe just some advice, whether it's a book, a podcast, or things like that you could.
I'm pretty like in this space, like I joke with people, it's like y'all toss out so many damn books with all these different people that are entrepreneurs and they do this, say yes to this or whatever, like give yourself permit. The one that I was immediately like I went to because obvious subject matter was I went to Relentless. I went to Grover.
Yeah.
And I did Winning as well. Because I mean, once I saw Last Dance and I saw him in there, I was like, who's that guy? Like I really like, especially like when he gets emotional talking about just Jordan showing up like to a game, like that, how important that is, how he wanted to perform. I was like, who is that guy?
Right.
And then I learned about, he did this book called Relentless. Diego told me a lot about it. So I dug into that. And I'm like, I think I'm good, guys. Like that's what I need.
All it is. Yeah.
Because like what it's all about is just like, again, it does kind of start with that fulfillment. Like what is that thing that you ultimately should be trying to be the best at? Not just like from a competition standpoint with others, but be the best within like yourself, like maximizing it. But what I just gravitated towards was the dark side, man. Like when I go to retreats, and it's like, why are you not sleeping? Why are you putting together like a movie that day? There's no need for that. There's a need for me to do it. Like I need to do this because if I don't, then I feel like why am I here?
Right.
I might as well not even be here if that's what I'm doing. If I'm not doing that, like that's why like I connected to that, because it's about embracing like a side of you that's not necessarily it's called a dark side, but it's not a bad side of you. It's just like this place that you go to be able to rise to a level of achievement
Mhm.
that you recognize as being just like that's the standard within
Right.
you.
Right.
Being a cleaner, like that's super important, man. Like, eh, you when you talked about all the different teams, right?
Mhm.
I, for whatever reason, decided to shoot my kids' soccer games,
Mhm.
and not just shoot them, but we're gonna shoot it at 60 frames. So we're gonna slow it down. We're gonna speed it up. We're gonna have this music. We're gonna have scorecards. We're gonna like, why? Because I have to. If I
Right.
don't, then what am I?
Right.
Why in the first place? Like, ultimately, it's something special for them or whatever. But like again, it's like that's my dark side. My dark side is like I have to I have to go all the way with making something. It can't just be like, piece. Here's just piecemeal this together. Have a
Yeah.
nice day.
Well, it's that's an amazing book. I think I've been through it two times on audio, and that's one of the few books I actually read. Because usually I don't read a book. I don't know if you saw on the way in, but like I've got 60 books, man. And honestly, as an adult, I didn't read a book. I did not read one book before 2020, and now I'm up to about 160
That's
books I'm
awesome,
taking in.
dude. Do you do the thing where I've heard if you listen to a book on Audible and read at the same time?
That's so. Here's my thing that I do, and I heard something. I've actually got a spiritual mentor that I'm meeting with once a week now, and so he was actually talking about how he takes in books, and it was just another level of how he does it. But what I do is I start off on Audible because I could read. I can read. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. I can read, but I don't. My mind as I'm reading it is somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like I'm hearing it in my voice, and it's so monotone, and it's just like blah 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 blah. Like it doesn't matter what I'm reading. Like I can read, but then I get to the end of the page, like what the hell? I just like And so I started doing Audible, and I'm conversational, so I can take that in perfectly. Like okay, I can remember this. I can recite it. Like um, so I'll start a book at Audible, and then if it's resonating where okay, this is going to be a good book, then I'll just stop the Audible, order the book, and then I can sit there and I'll listen to it as I'm, and I'll make
Yeah.
notes in the book. So that's really the way I you know, I choose to do it. Plus Audible, man, is just so while you're driving, you can be doing other things, working out, whatever you're doing, you can still be taking in the book, right? But Relentless, um, I'm a huge Jordan fan. I mean,
Yep.
I think I
Me too,
post
bro.
probably about Jordan, talking trash about LeBron more than anything on my Facebook account. Um, but
I'll
that's
never get tired of it.
that's another conversation. But he's just a and forget basketball, forget sports, just the mentality, just like with Kobe, the Mamba mentality, dude. Like there's just another level of commitment and desire and passion that you can see it in greats in any category of life, man. And there's some people that are that way about being a dad. Like they are that relentless about I'm going to be the best freaking dad. Like, and you hear that like at the firesides, like guys that had tough situations and now they are so intentional. They're just like boom, boom, boom. They're just knocking it out. But it's really about that mentality that this is so intriguing. And I think in certain things I can be that way, but I'm not that way in everything. And it's unfortunate because there's a saying, and I do believe that to some extent, where it says how you do anything is how you do everything. But I also have to be passionate about it. Like, you know what I mean? So, but Relentless kind of showed a part where, yes, Michael Jordan went over and beyond. Kobe Bryant went over and beyond. Those guys did do absolutely crazy things. But the reality is they would have done that in anything they did. It just happened to be basketball. If Jordan had decided he was going to be a receiver, he'd have been the top of the list on receivers. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just the mentality that you draw from that. So it's really cool that how did you like about the Winning book? Did you like that better?
Relentless is the one. I feel like Winning is not necessarily running it back. It goes into some other things too. I think it's also what I think is cool is that it's post like I think there's a bit in there that's after Kobe's death that you hear him reflect on it, which is kind of that's interesting to hear. It's fine.
Yeah. Relentless was
yeah. I mean, like it's nice to just hear get more Grover stuff, but Relentless is the one. Like that's it. And it's easy to digest. I mean, I can cruise through that thing in a couple hours.
Right. But you actually read.
That is another goal. Like as things kind of will shift and slow down, like I want to read more. And as I enjoy I do enjoy Audible now. Man, there was a point in time where like I really did enjoy just taking time, sit down, reading a book, and just enjoy that time with myself, you know.
But you were talking about earlier about France and how that's kind of the vibe there anyway. So it might fit in. I can see you sitting in a little
I'm gonna
cafe.
Go to a cafe.
And you're just sitting there, just taking it in. Just say it. You don't even speak French, but as people walk by, you're like, oui. Like you're just like
kindness is a universal language. That's what I tell everybody. It's like as long as we're nice, we'll all understand each other.
And you know how many people over there are going to think that you're Keanu Reeves?
Oh, right? I know. It'd be great. Be like John Wick.
So dress like him, bro. Like
I never have gone. I can't grow the hair out. I'm too Lebanese. My hair will just start curling up in the back, and it ain't gonna work. But
they got hairdressers over there, bro.
I know. Oh yeah.
You can get somebody to make me. You're talking about building your crew. You're gonna have to have somebody on makeup. So go ahead and so I can get that. Have tryouts. Whoever can make me look like John Wick, you can be on my first movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Dude, we're gonna do a podcast. God, I can't believe you're leaving, bro. You're leaving in 3 weeks.
Something like that. It's the end of May 30th. I don't know when this drops, but yeah.
It's gonna suck, dude. Because like I wanted to do just a podcast where you're just doing different impersonations. Like I'm just ask you a question, and then I don't even know who it is. I just ask you a question, and then we randomly just hold up a card, and you got to be John Wayne, or you got to be John Wick, or you got to be Stallone.
We used to do Star Wars. We would do the lines from Star Wars, but as different actors.
Okay.
It was so much fun. Yeah, stuff like that was good. It was a good time.
We talked earlier about we deviated around the storm, which is not the Bison Way. The Bison Way is into the storm. But we just talking about a little bit about how you ended up with Hunter.
Yeah. So
do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. So everybody's COVID story is different, but generally it is something, things are upended and changes have to be made. That's generally the theme that, runs throughout any COVID story. And for us, like my wife was working for an agency and they weren't going to cut jobs, but they were cutting pay, and they were cutting pay heavily, like by like 50% or more was what they're going to have to cut pay, because again, like agencies, like they depend on clients. If clients are going to give them business, then they're done. But where we're fortunate is that my wife was already in the works talking with Michelin before even COVID hit in March of 2020. So by the time they were wanting to cut her pay, Michelin was in final talks with her and brought her on board. So we were very fortunate. I always say that, like, we had a parachute to be able to get out of that plane that was going down. So, but it also involved us having to move. We had to move to Greenville. I had to leave my job at the state, which was fine because I was kind of that wasn't necessarily fulfilling for me, because I'd gotten away from being a filmmaker. I was more of like managing a website, which I have no experience in anyway. That guy sucked who ran it anyway. But we ended up moving up to Greenville. I don't have really anything. I don't have but as Francis, this new chapter, like the chapter that was ending in Columbia and starting in Greenville, was like, this is an opportunity to reset and get back to what I want to do, which is make movies. I want to do that. And so a few years earlier, and I'm not going to share the name. I debated about using names. I'm not going to. My mother-in-law had met somebody who owned a media company or marketing company up here. and was like, "Oh, my son-in-law is he likes movies. He's like a filmmaker. He does video stuff." He was like, "Oh, cool." We gave her.
She didn't say video, did she?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
fine. It's fine. It's
You
okay.
let her go
Again,
with
man, I got to respect that my pretentiousness is not like universal yet.
This is pre-pretentious.
right.
This is
Pre
good.
right.
Yes.
So she gets his info, but like I'm living in Colombia, so it's not really going to be a thing I can really do at the time. But when 2020 hits, it's something to think about. And so I ring him up and we have a conversation. It's great. And he's like, "Okay, I might be able to get some freelance work." I'm like, "This is awesome." I'm also kind of scared to death because I've only shot like short films on my own, or I've done like I'm not where I am now. Like I'm in a
Right.
very different place as a shooter. And so we move up here and in like May, June of 2020, and I'm starting to have we have a conversation. We talk about money, we talk about numbers, all that's good. I'm like, okay, cool, great. We talk about potential jobs. My first one is we go to a restaurant, and honestly, all I had to do just to prove that like I was good enough to do, I just had to hold a DSLR on a steady, like on a Ronin, like on just a stabilizer, and do a tracking, like dialogue thing with the owner. The manager was just gonna talk into the camera, and that was it. It was there's nothing to this. So I was like, okay, cool. Oh, I passed the test. Awesome. So I get brought on board, and I'm told about, all right, we're gonna do this shoot at a gym. I'm like, all right, cool. No problem. I can bring my little Lumix. All I had was like a little Lumix or something at the time. And so I go there, and what was really cool is there was a guy there who was really experienced. I really admire him to this day. There was a shooter there who had a Blackmagic, which is a camera I would later get. He has all the stuff, and he's just really knowledgeable. I love learning on a set. Like I get really excited, even when it's not my set or I'm not the person. I love I just will listen to you talk all day about it, like throw out things or this or that I don't know that maybe intimidate me initially, but then I'm like, oh, I can really harness that and learn about it. But anyway, I go through and help out as much as I can on the set. Like I'm a theater kid. I'm a PA. Like I will run. I will do anything at any point, whatever can keep the boat moving, everything. I shoot a little bit in there. I shoot what I'm asked to shoot. We get back. It's a 2-day thing. I upload all my stuff. I get paid for that. But then I'm like, okay, cool. We have these other projects that we're going to do, right? We have these other things you want me to do. And I don't really hear anything about those. And within a couple of days, it's really funny because then I get a notification about a post in the Greenville Young Professionals group. This guy named Hunter Ballou that's looking for a full-time videographer for his company. I don't know what company it is at this point. I have no idea. It's a roofing company, but for a company. I'm like, well, that's cool. And the guy who would hire me for freelance had recommended me for it. He texted me. He was like, oh, I tagged you in this because, it's good to know other people, or I forget the way you phrase it necessarily, but it had something to do with that. And at the time I was like, oh, that's really nice of him. That's really cool. So on the side, my first conversations with Hunter begin. But I'm also like, I'm a very loyal person. Like the analogy is, if you bring me to the dance, I am dancing with you. I'm not looking around for anybody else because you brought me here. I am with you to the end. So what I said to this guy was like, hey, I'm talking with Hunter about this, but please let me know about your those projects so we can get them going. And he kind of throws out these, oh, I'm waiting to hear about this, or oh yeah, those are still in the works. I'll let you know about it. And like, no pun intended, I kind of get ghosted a little bit. And I'm like, all right, I don't get it. I'm like, what starts to really like mess with me, because like my job is all about like approval. Like I want people to be happy when they see these things. Like when you talk about the feeling when people see things, like I want them to be happy. I didn't shoot like this wasn't like anything I would shoot at full. This was just like, we're shooting product at a gym. Like this is a pre-workout. This is a bottle of pre-workout, whatever. And I'm like, was something wrong? Like what? I want the feedback, but I'm getting none. And like, this from talking with Hunter, like if you don't know who he is and you have like your first couple conversations, like they're usually just kind of over text, and you're like, I don't know. Like I'm used to, I apply for a job and then I have phone interview with HR person, then phone interview. Like you go, there are steps that we associate with it. But like, I have no idea of how things are going to work out with this guy. I have no idea.
Right.
And the guy who initially brought me on is ghosting me here, and not like tell me it sucked. I don't care. Just tell me, so we can understand what like I need to do better. Is there a money thing? Fine, I'll do it for whatever. I don't care. Just talk to me about it. At this period of time, like also like what's like compounding this, because my wife's got her job. I kind of have a part-time job with the state. I'm getting a little hours here. I did 1 or 2 freelance things here, but we've got 2 mortgages because we have this house in Columbia that we're having to rent out, and we haven't gotten that yet. So we had a contract. Like it was awesome. The first day we put on the market, we had like a cash offer. It was like, oh yes, falls through. And that feeling, I didn't realize, now that I'm a homeowner, like that feeling sucks. Like when a contract like that falls through. So there is this moment in time for like a couple weeks where I'm like, and you know, during COVID, like if you think we're on our phones a lot now, back then, like we needed to know, like I'm ready for any notification, any point in time. Like I've just got the quick draw on it. And when you're not like you're just kind of left out there.
Right.
It's the worst feeling in the world, especially for me, like knowing that like this was my opportunity. Like, did I blow this opportunity? What happened here? And so Hunter and I eventually like have like, I feel like 2 or 3 weeks later, we have our in-person where I got to go to the office. I got to meet him and it went great. It was awesome. We talked numbers. He brings me on. I'm like, awesome. I've got this full-time job. I'm filling roofs, but okay. I mean, I didn't know what to think at the time. I was like, all right, just, it's an opportunity. You got to make the most of it. But I'm still like, part of me is like, hey man, I sent one last message and I was like, hey man, thanks so much for, you know, recommending me. I think Hunter's going to move forward with me, which is really cool. I still have these projects though, that you and I talked about, and I'd still like to be able to, you know, work for you and everything. Well, no, my email account with that group got deactivated and I was never talked to again. Until like I wish that person happy birthday months later, just to be nice and just try and reignite that. So, you know, when you go like, see, this isn't like this isn't a great storm story from the perspective of like, you know, like,
well, there's a lot going on here, but there's definitely,
the way it affected, like in my life, like I always go back to like, what was going through my dad's head when he was at a point where, no, I can't do this anymore, and whatever. Like when he encountered failure and how it affected him, I think about that all the time. And I know the way I felt when that moment where I'm not yet hired with Hunter, I'm not being told anything. So I'm left to assume that like my shit sucks and I don't need to be doing this. I'm not really providing for my household, and we need it. This is a time where I need the income. Like we talk about, like, you know, do it for nothing. Like I actually kind of need the money.
Right.
It was the worst. It wasn't imposter syndrome. It wasn't that. It was just like, I suck and I am not good and I don't like this. And this hurts. This hurts so much because like, this is all I wanted to do. And now like, I'm really doubting what I've got. Well, you know, the stages of grief, like you go through that period, but then once you figure out how to deal with that, this is where relentless and like I was just begging. I must have been begging for a chip on my shoulder because boy, did I get it. And from that point on, I was like, I am going to sink this motherfucker every time I shoot. Every time I go out and shoot, I think about that moment, how I felt back then. And I'm like, I am going to prove to you that not only am I good at this, I am better than you in anything you ever bring on for that fucking place that you have. I get so fired up thinking about that because I'm like, I never want to feel like that. I don't mind feeling bad. I don't mind feeling sad. I don't mind crying during fucking TED.
Right.
I don't mind that. I love that. But that feeling of borderline worthlessness, you're not going to put me there. And all you had to do, it might, like, what's funny is for this person, this may be like, oh my God, you're misconstruing it. you could have solved it with just a conversation. That's how business is done.
Mhm.
You have a conversation. You had tough conversations. I know you have. In contracting, it's incredible seeing like there can be some really hard conversations with salespeople about whether you're getting stuff done or not. All I need was like, even if like you're telling me it's not good, just tell me. But when you don't, this is where you put me. And like, look, I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to go out of my way to do this or that. Like, I'm going to just channel everything into doing my job better, because that's what I'm going to prove, is that I'm the best at what I do. I'm the best in the world at what I do.
Right.
Every single time. That's how I got through it. That's how I still get through it, because like, I'm glad it doesn't necessarily go away. Like, I remember what that felt like, and I'm like, I'm not going to go there again.
So what do you think, man, that's, I mean, to say that it's not a big storm, it is. It really is, because, you know, when you feel like you're so passionate about something, and it's more than just a job. Yes, you needed the finances at the time, but it's also your art. It's like your craft. It's part of who you are. Like, even though it was kind of limited because you were only like shooting, you know, not really the most creative content, but it's like, you know, and I think I would say the big part of that, the bigger picture of this, is giving someone else the power to determine your worth, and having the mindset to, you don't have that power over me. Right. And you hear a lot of times, like, in reality, like you hear a lot of from females, like that, where there's like, you know, they feel like they're less than because of how, you know, a guy treats them, or attention they give or whatever. But we don't talk about it as much as men. Women are more transparent in those conversations, and they're letting their feelings out. But us as men, we feel that just as much. You know, we don't necessarily put it out there. We don't talk about it as much. It comes out a lot during the firesides, right? Because, you know, even just like changing it up to going back, this is what blew my mind. Is like, after about the fourth or fifth time that I was around the firesides, it's like, you always hear about this, like, it's supposed to be like females with daddy issues, but dude, like, there's more men, I think, have issues with their dads than there are women. Like, but I never knew that before I got into those settings, to where they actually let it out. You know what I mean? And actually talked about stuff. And there's a few conversations that were really, really impactful, like, seeing people open up and stuff like that. But so hearing that,
I'll tell you real quick. I'm gonna tell you the mind fuck about all this. Like, and I go through this, and I'm just like, I've been through periods of being really upset about it, really angry about it, and then I have to circle back and be like, because of that, I got wrecked. Like, the same person put me in the spot where I'm in now.
Yep.
And that is the mind fuck of all for me, because I'm just like, I have to be grateful while simultaneously like remembering like how it made me feel at the same time. And that's been probably one of the most difficult pills to swallow, because it's like, again, like from the outside, like I can see it being very benign to others, but at that point in time, it meant everything in the world to me, in both directions. Like, it meant, like, because I'm talking with you. I wouldn't be talking with you if I don't have that relationship with Hunter that I have now, that was born out of that and recommended by the same person. Like that's,
you know what, one of the podcasts I did a while back, and I've not been able to release it, because she's having some issues. She helps with domestic violence victims a lot, because she lived that life, and she's very passionate about it. She's actually got a foundation, does different things, and she receives threats a lot because of her helping females, and the men aren't real happy about it, because she goes like into the lion's den, man, to help pull these women out. So she goes through some stuff, but yeah, like in speaking with her and other women in that situation, just having intentional conversations about things. But with her, it's like, she's got this like crazy relationship with her ex, as far as like the damage that he caused and all this stuff. But at the same time, he gave her one of the greatest blessings on earth, is her child. Like, it's like, how do you come to terms with both of those things, man? And it's kind of like,
that is not the same as that, but
well,
that is
but
That's a storm.
It's a lower level, but it's the same parallel, right? It's a similar thing, but just on a lesser, scale. But you still learn the same lessons. I mean, you can't give that power to someone else to create that. It's not about, even their actions and how they go about handling themselves and their lack of professionalism or human connection, to just have the decency to, like you said, it wouldn't have been that hard. Like,
All right, let's just do it.
but you can't let that, and this. I mean, but it's also, I think you and I are similar in the ways that you find those slights and you use it for that fuel.
Oh yeah.
I was just having a conversation. Who was I talking to very recently? Oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about it off air. But what we did was we were talking about, we've got some common people in our life that we, have had certain situations with, and it's like you're driven to take that as a slight to just go out there and just absolutely crush, bro.
Yep.
Go out and crush. And is that a bad thing? I don't know, man. It gives us our tackling fuel, as Bobby Boucher would say.
Right.
I was hoping you do a Bobby Boucher impression, but let's go.
Not good. I no.
I tried to tee you up, man.
No, man. Unless I've got it. That's one thing. Like if I speak at a retreat, I prepare that months in advance.
Really?
I prepare and practice and rehearse in my car, wherever. Even when I host the pod, I'm nervous. I make sure, in my head, even if I have it written down, I'm just like, oh, hold on, got to make sure I have all this stuff written, because preparation is just key.
Right.
It's like when you the preparation that you pour into other people before they go out and make a sale or try to have a conversation, build a relationship. There's preparation that goes into that.
Right.
You know what neighborhood you're going into, preparation, even if it's on the spot, they have a Steelers flag.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that. There's prep. There's all this prep that always goes into it, man. So
what I love about this setting is I've got some general notes that I don't change for one episode to another. I just have certain things we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But I just kind of let it flow, man. I feel like that's the best conversations to have, is when it's not necessarily, a lot of times people come on there and on the front end, they know it's called Into the Storm. We're going to talk about some tough things you've been through. How'd you get through them? What's your advice for other people? And how can you take that and run a parallel to something else? Like what I just did with a previous guest, but they know that. And a lot of times I don't even know what we're going to talk about. They just know we're going to bring it up. And as long as they say, yeah, I got something to talk about, then okay, cool. I didn't know what you were going to talk about. Let's just, cool. Let's flow, man, and see what happens. Because I like the improv part of it, because it's real life. I don't want a scripted type thing.
No, I got you.
Flow. But this has been a great episode, man. I think we covered a lot. We didn't talk about LeBron nearly as much as I wanted to talk about some of the Mickey Mouse stuff. It's really the reason I don't watch NBA anymore. I'm not lying, man.
I hear you.
I needed to disconnect from watching TV too much anyway.
So I've been asked before. People ask me hey man, what do you watch for inspiration or whatever? And I'm like, oh, I just watch The Last Dance before it. Anytime. So no joke, before a retreat, I will try to watch the whole 10 episode thing before every retreat. I try to get through the whole thing.
Really?
Because once I get into that mind, once that just kind of resets the mindset a little bit, I'm good to go.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is outstanding.
Yeah, that's one of the best things I've seen on TV.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about. All right, there's a couple things we're going to talk about right before we leave, but let me just give you I'm gonna give a category of a movie, and you tell me your favorite.
Okay.
All right. Comedy.
Oh God, it's so broad. It's such a broad one. I'm gonna say it's Anchorman. That's my wife and I's our favorite movie is Anchorman.
Really?
I love Anchorman. Anchorman is outstanding.
Where does Wedding Crashers stack up?
I love Wedding Crashers until they leave the island. When they leave the island in the movie, the movie, it just dips. Like it takes it and it never really recovers. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yeah,
Think
yeah.
about when
Mhm.
that final shot of them walking, they're walking in their disheveled tuxedos. Guys care. Vince Vaughn's got the painting.
Mhm.
That movie never recovers. Like it's never really great again. Like it goes through this weird period where Owen Wilson is just like not good at being sad and
Yeah.
contemplating suicide or whatever. And maybe Vince Vaughn's with the other. Everything up to that point is gold. It is great. I love it. It's outstanding.
Like whenever he said you wasn't in my room for the Midnight Heart show or whatever he said. What?
It's the gif I always try to use is whenever it's like, well, let's just go kill some pigeons. I'm psyched.
That's so freaking funny.
Throw another one.
Anchorman, I watched a few, but
It's
you know.
man,
But
that is a polarizing one. There are some
Yeah.
people who are like, I don't get it.
Oh, I get it. I tell you what I don't get, and I hate to admit this in public, but like all the Adam Sandler movies, bro, like they're just too corny. I can't. I
Wait,
just can't.
So I like the old set, like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, Waterboy, pretty much up to like Big Daddy. Like I think that is an incredible run. He just kind of shifts gears after that. Not to say it's good or bad necessarily for him, but seeing Happy Gilmore in a theater, incredible. Like that as a kid, that was awesome.
See, you're the opposite of me though, because here's the thing: whenever everybody starts laughing, it gives everybody permission to be loud, and I can't hear the next thing they're saying because it's usually like there's a moment to laugh,
Yeah.
and then usually there's like a follow up, something funny that happens, and I can't rewind it at the theater. So it's like y'all are still talking, man. And he said something else that I know is funny.
I'll just go with it. You just man, that's what makes it so good.
All right, so that was comedy, The Anchorman. All right, how about, and this is like out there, I don't even know if you watch them, but horror movies.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
You ever seen it?
A long time ago. It's been a minute.
That is a badass movie.
I gotta go back and watch it.
So it's practical effects. Like that's one thing that's really neat. Is like they built that stuff. Like when old boy splits open, another thing comes out of like that's all built. That's not a computer generated graphic there or anything like that.
I'll tell you what messed me up for a minute, and I was a grown ass man, so I don't know why it would have, but it did. Was and I didn't go to a theater to watch it. I watched it at my house. I made sure I cut off all the lights. I cranked up the sound pretty loud, had a nice surround sound, so it felt realistic. And it was the Blair Witch Project. Man, dude, that thing jacked me up. I wouldn't go out and let the dog go out and pee at nighttime. I was like, dude, I want to tell you,
that's an incredible achievement. Like what they did with that movie is incredible. Like that is those are just people with a camera go out and like, we're going to try something and see if it flies. And then just the most incredible marketing campaign ever.
Yeah.
Because it had people believing it was real. And
the ending, there was no way to end it good.
Right.
I mean, I get it, but it was scary as crap.
I love that you cranked it because like that's one thing that's to appreciate now is the whole soundscape. Like like there's a lot going on in there, but that's just one of those like I'd love to tell people like you kind of had to be there to really experience what it was like for that movie to come out, and it's probably the most successful movie ever because it was cost like less than $100,000 and it made over 100
Yeah,
million.
the profit margin was crazy good. All right, so that's horror. How about drama?
For drama, I love Casablanca. I think Casablanca is the best written film ever. You ever seen it?
No.
They make it in. So here's what's cool. It's a World War II. It is, by all accounts, it's a propaganda film. Like it is. It is about like we need to be in support of the war. Of course it is. But here's what's so neat about it. It's made and it comes out like in 41, 42. So there is no D-Day yet. There is no light at the end of the tunnel that we're going to win this thing. You have people in there who have escaped Nazi Germany that are actors in this movie. You have scenes of like the scene that, like you want to talk about a scene that'll wreck you is when you know what these people have been through. Like when they sing La Marseillaise, when they sing the French national anthem, and France at that point is taken over. Like it is occupied. When those people start singing it and they're bawling and they're singing it while the Germans are trying to sing their national anthem and they're getting drowned out, it's powerful.
I gotta go back and watch
Dude, it's got the most quote. It's got endlessly quotable lines that you've heard in pop
I've heard a lot of the
culture forever.
quotes.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard a lot of the quotes. I've seen little clips. I've just not sat and watched.
And it's the ultimate, like it's the ultimate hero story where it's like, I have the love of my life, but I'm going to give it up for the sake of like the war. I'm going to give up the love of my life for the sake of another man and for the sake of the war being able to go on. And
well, I'm meant to watch it, so I'll know
it's incredible.
What in the hell you're talking
it's
about.
so good. Bogart, it's
So
incredible.
I mean, dude, I get it. I know the famous people, but I was born in the 70s, so it was old when I came into the world.
Man,
so like I just didn't go back and retroactive. I think the oldest movie I watch is The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, when you go back,
Is that a drama or is it suspense?
I don't care. It's a great movie. Who gives a shit? That thing's awesome.
Yeah,
it really is. Look at, I mean, that's an achievement.
yeah.
I remember something was really cool. On our honeymoon in 2014, we went down to St. Martin. We're doing a little tour and everything. And they're like, you look out that way. And I look over this toward wherever they're pointing. And there's this island that's kind of shrouded in this mist. It's a beautiful day, but like there's this haze that's just kind of in front of it. And they're like, they filmed King Kong out there. I was like,
It's Kong Island?
like the original, like
wow.
on the like that's where they filmed the island scenes in 1933 or whatever is out there. And I was like, awesome.
That's crazy.
They made that movie in 33 and they figured out how to, like, I know it looks whatever now to people, but that is incredible. Like that scared the shit out of people and enthralled them.
Right. So now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know the difference between the drama and suspense.
Well, I think like I would consider drama like the umbrella, and suspense can fall under drama. I think suspense is a type of drama. You know what I mean? I'll tell you one that like I love. I used to watch it without sound because it was like I'd love to. Sometimes it's fun if you watch just a movie or a scene without sound and see if how much you understand or how much you're getting from it, because that's when you can tell it's a really, really good movie. Is Argo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Incredible third act. The suspense of will they or won't they get on the plane before the bad guys come, and then on top of that, will the people in Hollywood be able to pick up to be able to validate that these guys are filmmakers or whatever? Incredible.
I'll tell you what I love, and people that are around me when I watch movies and stuff realize this because it probably drives some of them crazy. Just like if we sit and watch football, I'm going to keep pausing and rewinding because I'm going to find the offensive lineman that took the wrong steps that caused him to miss the block on the second level while we didn't run that play good.
Yeah.
Like, and when I watch, and so it drives some people crazy, but in movies, I'm constantly like pausing and rewinding to see the way they shot something, the angle that they used, or I mean, I think the Joker was like so good. Like the way they filmed it, like you was pulling for him to kill everybody. I was like, dude, just go blow them all up, dude. They're all assholes. And so, but it's just the way they film certain stuff, man. I could just tell, like the directors are just like, there's levels to the game, bro. Like you can tell, you can write it all down and you can write the script and make it act how they act. But it's like the way they film stuff, the angles that they choose, I just think this
everything
art
is a choice.
Like crazy.
There is a choice. There's a reason. There's a reason behind a choice. In a good movie, there's a reason why it's either shot with a particular lens, it's shot at a particular angle, it's shot with a particular time of day or whatever, a particular type of staging. Those things are choices, and they're usually like there is a reason behind that choice. Like for an actor, everything you need to know is in that script. You can do all the background work. You can go, build a log cabin, whatever. Everything is in the script. That is your blueprint. Everything you need to know. If it's a well-written script, everything you need to know is in there. That's the Kurt Russell kind of thing. That's why I love Kurt Russell. Like that's my favorite actor ever is him, just because like it.
What's his favorite movie he was in?
Escape. Probably Big Trouble in Little China.
Really?
I'll tell you,
mine was Death Proof.
I love Death Proof. That's great. I've grown to like it more. I didn't like it when I initially saw it. I've grown to like it more. This again, I sometimes like giving some distance between viewings and then I reevaluate. But I'll go and tee you up for the Western. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is my all-time favorite movie.
Okay, yeah.
All-time favorite. I think that is a masterpiece. I watch it. My son even enjoyed it. I couldn't believe it. Like 7 or 8 years old, you could sit through and watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But it's like a 3-hour thing. But
where does Tombstone rate?
Oh, Tombstone's phenomenal. Tombstone is like, I heard somebody compare it. It's like the NBA All-Star game of movies, because everybody's just got an awesome dunk ready. Like everybody is just like having a good time doing it. Tombstone's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm a big Tombstone. I mean, I got my man Doc Holliday right there. Say when. Yeah, and then Young Guns. I like Young Guns too. But see, like you're picking these older movies, bro. Like you, because you're a true historian, and
I know.
You're like the people who talking about the greatest football team of all time, and you're like the 72 Dolphins.
Right.
Like, dude.
I don't believe that though. I really don't believe the 72 Dolphins.
No, not at all.
I mean, they played what, 14 games, 12 games?
Yes. There was like 12 teams. I mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like UCLA when they won all those titles, bro. Like there's like 8 colleges,
and they also have like all the other great players sitting on their bench or whatever that they weren't.
Yeah. All right, so that was Western. So suspense. Liz, I know it's underneath, but when I look on Netflix, it's a different category, so I'm going to say it as a category. So how about suspense?
For suspense, I'm going to take The Game. David Fincher's The Game.
Mm-hmm.
But
I got to write down.
He does this after 7. Because 7 is awesome. The Game is really interesting though, because it's like, what if you had what if a million, like this guy who has all the money in the world or whatever, but you're not sure if what he's going through is actually like a game or if it's reality. Like his brother gets him a birthday present that he says is this game, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with this. But then stuff starts happening, and he's not sure if this is part of like an elaborate game or if it is reality.
It sounds like Jumanji.
You know what? In a way, it kind of is like adult Jumanji in a way. Jumanji's phenomenal, by the way. The original, it's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, so
I think I've said that. If you go back and do a cut show of this, I think I've said incredible more than any other word.
I thought, honestly, you were saying it so much, I thought that was going to be your favorite. That's going to take me to your favorite animated, and you're going to say The Incredibles.
That's funny, yeah. The second one, though, is fascinating because it's about a dad having to be I love that it was about a dad having to take care of kids at home and how it's really hard.
Which
Incredibles 2?
The Incredible, dude, I didn't watch the first one. I'm just, okay. I don't know. Like my movies are more like my Western is like I said, Tombstone. My comedy, I would say Wedding Crashers. I guess. Yeah, I guess. Drama. I don't know where this falls. I don't know what category, but the movie 7 to me is like the way it's written.
It's the same director as The Game. It's like the movie that it's incredible.
It's the way it's written, bro. Like how this guy had been locked up for a year, and to the day he had it where they would find him on this day. Like the way that was written just blew my mind.
It's all the elements. Like, and it's one when you get to that last scene, you're just like,
what's in the box, dude? Like, God, I still say that. I think I said it today. I don't remember.
And it's such an an anti-Hollywood type of movie where it's like you don't come away feeling good at all after that.
But you're blown away by the story.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The control this guy had to just like plan everything out, and it just played to a T. He says, "Go ahead and become Wrath." It's like, God, he knew he was going to do it.
Yeah.
God, that's so good. Anyway, so we got Suspense was The Game. Good, Bad, and Ugly is a Western. Casablanca is the drama.
Mm-hmm.
What else did we cover?
Then you do action.
Yeah, action. Bam, action. What you got?
And I definitely have
John Wick. It's going to be.
Man, I got it's crazy. I have so many I pick because I even love just bad ones. I don't care. I'll watch any of that stuff. I think I'm gonna. Yeah, this is tough. I think I'm just gonna play it. I'm gonna stick to Die Hard. I love Die Hard. I think Die Hard is a masterpiece in terms of an action film. There's so many things going on in that movie beyond just beyond just one guy in a tower trying to like get bad guys. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in that. and a lot of it's way more. I remember one time I never finished it because I got derailed on something else. But I would play around and take movies and try and cut a new trailer that would be a different tone. And what's fascinating is like if you opened a trailer with him, let's having like talking about his wife to Family Matters to Al Powell, when he's talking to him about his wife and what he did or what he didn't, like you're like, oh, this is setting up to be this one type of film. It just happens to be like this guy's trying to reconnect with his wife. She just happens to be stuck in a tower controlled by terrorists, and he's the only one who can save him.
Right. I haven't watched that in a while, but I've saw it several times, like over the years. So, all right, how about crime?
Heat.
Oh God,
Heat is incredible.
My favorite part is when she
There
just.
it is again. I said it was incredible.
You said incredible. So we know your animated is definitely Incredibles 2, I think. I just love that part where she's like looking at when she just goes like this. She just gives a lot of love.
And that's it. Dude, the sequel's gonna be phenomenal. Though the book is out. I have
the
not
sequel. They're just now doing that?
Yeah.
Is it everybody? Hell, people dead.
Well,
Val Kilmer's not with us.
No, he's alive.
Is he still making it?
He just can't talk. So
How the hell are they gonna twist that?
So I think they're gonna recast him. And the rumor is it's Austin Butler, who's the guy who played Elvis most recently. He's really good.
Okay.
He's in Dune 2 as well. He's in Masters of the Air, the Band of Brothers.
Okay.
They did it in the about pilots. So that's gonna be really cool if it's him. That movie's awesome, dude.
Good.
That's one with the sound system.
Oh God, when they had that shootout, the echo in that city, like
I also really like Miami Vice. I loved Miami Vice.
The movie or the TV show?
Both. But the movies, for the sake of movies.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I like the TV show better. But when that thing came on, it started playing that music. It was on Friday night back in the day. That was before you was born, probably.
Oh yeah. But I've heard it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I could believe that people were like, stop
That's
everything.
all everybody talked about, man, was Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Man, that's cool. I think, is that all the categories? What other categories?
That's most of them, man. I mean, you're just getting into subgenres probably from there, but
yeah. I'm really just doing this so I know what movies to watch. Because like from a true,
all mine are old ones though. That's the problem.
From a true movie-tician.
But I do love Top Gun Maverick. I watch that on every flight that I'm on. Dial it up immediately. I turn on Top Gun.
Well, you
Maverick.
better hope the damn pilot ain't watching. He just start banking some turn like this. Let's level this damn bitch out.
I love that. I love that movie though, man. I think that thing's incredible.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
As we close out, man, give me a motto or a quote, some kind of little nugget we can use.
It's from a 30 for 30. It was the one they did by NC State. And it's the title of the movie. And it's something Valvano said. It's survive and advance. That's the name of the game. Survive.
You have to do that in France, bro, because I heard they don't even have a military, do they? It's gonna be shady over there, bro.
Each day, if you think about each day that we have, is about be present, be in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Things are tough. Survive it. At the very least, advance to the next.
Survive and advance. That's what's up. That's Ed Millett says that. He says just outlast the temporary.
That's good.
So
yeah.
Very similar. William, I appreciate you, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Lot,
I appreciate it.
Guys, another episode in the books, man. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. And as we always say, always be yourself, unless you can be a bison, and then always be a bison. Until next time, we'll see you.